Pastor Burris, if you would, please.
Tonight, Pastor Guy Durkee is with us to lead us in prayer. Guy, if you'd please. Thank you. Please join us as we go to the Lord.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for just the opportunities you give us. We come first and foremost and acknowledge your power and authority in our lives. I just ask tonight that, Lord, as the Tontitown City Council meets, that Lord, the decisions will be honoring to you. Lord, I pray for each of the council members and, Lord, the employees of the city, that their lives would model your integrity. Just ask that you would guide in their decisions. Lord, that their first question would be, how can I honor you first? How can I be integrous in my actions and my words? And Lord, I just pray that the decisions of the council will be best for the citizens of Tontitown, and I continue to pray for Tontitown as a city to be a light for you in Northwest Arkansas. Lord, we just pray for the Lord, each item, each agenda that comes before the council tonight, that Lord, the council be in unity, one in mind and spirit. In Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
I'd like to call the May 5th Committee of the Whole meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Larry?
Here.
Daniel? Misty? Here. Tim?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Next, I seek approval of the agenda. And
If it's all right with you, I would like to add O on here. We went to court yesterday and it would be for the settlement offer if council is it.
You need a special session for that, Mayor.
You're talking about just approval of putting it on the agenda, not?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. I'll make that motion with the addendum of item O agenda.
I'll second.
roll call.
Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Misty?
Yes.
Daniel?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Next, I seek approval of the April 7th Committee of the Whole minutes.
Make that motion.
Looking for a second. Everybody perused them.
Is there a reason why there's not a second?
I wasn't here, so I'll be abstaining.
I don't see any issues. I'm happy to second if that's what we need to move forward.
Roll call.
Daniel?
Yes.
Misty?
Abstain.
Tim?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Next, I will entertain comments from citizens, and I request that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less if you possibly can. Thank you.
Afternoon, Kenneth Lovett, B71B, Springdale, Arkansas. Former purple Tontitown grape shirt. Good.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lovett, I did not catch your address.
Highway 71B, Springdale,
You don't have a street address?
911. How's that?
Okey-doke.
Okey doke. Do we get to restart our minutes now? Noticed on the paperwork tonight that we were going to talk about splitting the treasurer and recorder. I'm interested in that, and since public comments won't be able to be taken during that time. She has 2 assistants now. Understand how the job has grown so much to need to do all these changes. Just to think about that. And on that project, please. I requested in the last city council meeting that the Tontitown get a expert review test done previously and suggest opportunities moving forward. I've not seen nor heard any options to move forward with that request. And in cahoots refers to unethical, secret, or unlawful collusion, often involving conflicts of interest where members favor private interest over public duty. I believe there are 2 in the council, in my opinion, who currently are in cahoots with some unethical citizens. I believe that these unethical citizens are wasting taxpayer money with their FOIA witch hunt later. As the mayoral race heats up later this year, I hope the citizens of Tontitown understand the issues they're facing with and make the right decision. We've seen some crazy stuff happen. Childish. And it continues. I see stuff in the agenda tonight that don't make good sense. And I believe it's only there because of the clique that thinks they're in control of Tontitown. And they may very well be, very well. But it's wrong. And it needs to change. Thank y'all.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. First, we have a presentation from Ordinal regarding platform updates by Vladimir Lopez, the youngest Justice of the Peace in Washington County.
Can I speak?
Thank you for
My
the
name's
introduction.
Vladimir.
I just want to clarify, will I address the chair primarily? That's how we do things over there. So I just want to make sure I'm doing well. Okay, perfect. I'm sharing now. Again, any preliminary questions? I believe the last time that we were up here, we had a different idea of what we were doing, but very briefly, what we're showing here is Ordinal is a suite of tools of how we are helping governments implement AI into their workflows, primarily with the concern of increasing accessibility to information that might be siloed. So we'll start here. I will do one that is primarily germane to how one of you might use a service like this, and then we'll go into how someone who works at the city might use something like this. We'll start here. I'll select Sallisaw, Oklahoma. This is a municipality that has us upload their meeting minutes every month to go through. So to show what we'd be doing with something like this, it would be as simple as asking a question like, what was on the special meeting agenda for July 2025? And this is going to go through and develop a response for you all. It will use only approved documents from the municipality itself. And this being a closed loop system, this will not have access to the internet. It is entirely trained strictly on the data that the municipality provides for us and approves for it to give responses to staff. I will show here later on an external version that we also make open to the public, but this portion is internal. As you can see here, you can get a pretty quick rundown of what exactly was on the agenda. It looks like they have it, how it came to order, all of those things, as well as a brief discussion of what was considered. Right here, resolution and approval of a purchase order. You can see here loans, and all of these responses will be cited for your use. it will go through and pool all of those responses. Again, as a legislator myself, it's always good to be able to look back at the decisions that we've made previously, whenever we are justifying decisions that we make in the present. So this tool and this portion of the tool is how we think of a use case wherein someone sitting on a legislative body might use something like this. Another way that we would have it used, and I'll pull Benton County here, and I will ask my coworker to join me. Daniel, if you would come and put in your address. I don't know it by memory, and I don't live in Benton County. So here on the portion, we do integrate with GIS, whether that's hosted at the county level or municipalities level. And we can go in here, and as you see, there's going to be immediately it's going to populate some information that can be found on GIS. And this portion is bespoke. This will be whatever your municipality likes to see whenever they're looking at a property. Access to that information is pretty readily available. And from here, it's a way to simplify how you interact with your codes of ordinances and your your planning overlays, all the things that you consider as you make a decision on a property. I know that you all have no question. Yes.
That type of information, that is exclusively for people in the city, right? That will not be public.
This portion, yes, sir. This portion of it is the internal facing portion. So this would be open to planning staff or any sort of staff that you want to give access to it.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. Please, as you all have questions, I'm more than happy to field them. But from this, you could ask a question like, what are setbacks for a shop on my property? And once again, all this information is going to be from the approved documents that the city would allow us to use. So this is what, or county, this is Benton County. These are the materials that they have approved for us to use whenever we create a response for them. And typically all those responses are about 15 to 20 seconds from when we ask that question. We'll have a response here. So as you can see here, it's going to give us a response on just the general setbacks that you can have on each one of these, depending on the road type. And all of these are cited answers. So when you click these citations, you can go and see exactly where in the Code of Ordinances it was used in order to make that response. But yes, this is a fairly general use case of how we'd imagine, your staff here at the city would likely use something like this in order to speed up their workflows. And then these next two tools that I will go over, there's a suite of them. I will try to keep this brief in respect of your time. As a legislator, this is one that I believe I had a hand in making, so it's a bit of my baby. So please don't shoot it too much. But here, what we're doing here is we are tracking the state legislative session against your municipality's Code of Ordinances. And so as soon as we see discrepancies between what is being proposed at the state level and what the municipality has on their books, we are going to let you all know that you have a potential conflict, in respect of the city attorney's time. Digging through these, I can't imagine is too much fun. So that's the hope that we're having with this is when we do find a pretty obvious contradiction, just giving you a heads up as this goes through the state legislative session that this might be something that you all want to take a look at. Similarly, we will let you know if you're compliant here, and this is low, but we track and update this ourselves. We are open to extending those features. I understand that some municipalities would like to track legislation, even if it doesn't pass in this state legislative session, as something that might be going on over years. So we will allow that capability as well. And then code library is something that I like to imagine is used in tandem with this, where let's say, Fayetteville, Bentonville, two fairly urban areas, we would ask it to compare the short-term rental permit requirements around this, and we will get a summary of the kind of legislative environment in each of those municipalities, differences, similarities, things like that. We'll get a breakdown side by side of how each one is doing it and direct citations from their Code of Ordinance. We think that kind of helps you jump the gun there when you're looking at rewriting some of your code to be compliant with something that was not compliant before. We think, looking at our neighbors and learning that way is probably one of the best ways to do it. We know that we're going to be subject to the same state regulations, whether that comes from, Bentonville to Fayetteville to Springdale, whoever. We all are in the state of Arkansas, and we're all going to have that same state legislative session. And then I will touch on one more that I think is good to see. So this is the City of Pea Ridge's website. As we are in the City of Pea Ridge, I'll show you how the public-facing portion works. I would start a new chat here. I could ask it something like, how tall can I build my fence? It's going to look over those same exact documents that are approved by the municipality, and it's going to populate us a response that admittedly will be a little less jargon. It'll just be pretty direct. It'll tell us, hey, you can build it up to 8 feet tall. And if anything else requires approval by the Planning Commission, you will have your direct citations that you can address here, and you can go and look that up in the code. We can upload whatever you all would like to be public facing. Again, that is completely within, working with your department heads as to what information you would like to make available to the residents of Tontitown. That can be things like, when is my trash pickup schedule? Things of that nature that we think are, probably don't require a call into the city, but allows you to interact with all the information here in the city a lot easier. With that, there are some other tools, but again, to be respectful of your time, I just wanted to touch on the things that I think are pretty germane to this body. I'd be happy to field some questions now.
I just, if may I want to apologize first. I didn't get a chance to meet with you personally one-on-one, but I did look at the site. It's pretty impressive. I suppose the public-facing side, you've seen our Tontitown
Yes.
website. I assume you'll make it something similar to what Pea Ridge has.
That's correct.
Using the technology. Also, I like the fact that you broke down 4 council members, for example. We can go in as council members and it will scan council packets, pull up past votes, provide clarity without us having to come and interrupt staff work days. We can find the answers that we need oftentimes through your platform. You can also view the planning commission stuff. I mean, there's a lot of tools here. And could you expound on the real-time answers? I assume that's something you mean that I could use that right here, right now. Should we have your program in place to find answers for people tonight versus having to wait 2 to 3 weeks?
That is correct. So everything that I've shown you to this point has been a live demo. None of this is prep. This is me interacting with the service as it would be for your city. So you could be sitting in council, and if you wanted to reference a portion of your code, we do have fuzzy search where you could type in, what does that code say? And you can get those real-time answers to inform yourself as you are going through your meetings. That is absolutely correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, you got anything? Danny?
Yes. Do you have anything?
I find this very useful. We use similar things in my day job, and there's great benefit to this. It keeps consistency, accuracy, keeps everyone on the level playing field. If you pull up exactly what you need, there's great benefit to this.
Yeah, and again, that is something. It's weird to think of it this way, but it'd be great if sometimes local government worked like a McDonald's, in the sense that it's very repeatable, right? The responses we give, these things are accurate, they're repeatable, and everyone is getting the same access to the information that they need. That's kind of the hope. If everyone's got the same information base, we think those responses become a lot narrower in their scope. That's not to take away with nuance, right? We always have a human interacting with this to make sure that, humans ultimately get the final say, hey, this is good, this is right. When nuance is needed, we definitely want to defer to the people who have experience, like Mark here, who's been wonderful.
Speaking of that, do you have AI policy in where you work? Because I know that that's a factor or a facet of
mhm.
the new act that we're going to be discussing later.
That is part of the new act. In order to have something built, you need to have an AI policy. For Washington County, it hasn't been something that we've discussed in the year and a half that I've been on the body. I'd imagine with the new act that has come up, this will be something that, we'll have to adopt a policy moving
Yeah, I
forward,
think so.
as I imagine that every municipality will. But I look forward. I think those conversations should be happening pretty soon here for us as well.
A quick question. You said that the agenda items would be imported into the AI app. Does that? Do you do that?
Yes,
Does the city do that?
We take that on. So it depends on how likely you would like the frequency to be. And I can show you that here. If I were to go to account and I go to documents, you can see that there is a cadence by which we update. There's some of these that are yearly. We have some that are weekly. We have some that are monthly. That's all going to be dependent on how often you have these materials updated. We will take the initiative as your website changes to go out and change with it. But we also allow you all the discretion to say, I would like this document entered into the record. So if you wanted to set up something where, as I understand it, it tends to be about 5 working days before you actually come to council that you all publish and publish the agenda for the public. If you would like to add that on here, that is absolutely within your capability to do. We would just set up a cadence to come and ask for that from you all 5 days before every meeting, and we can get that updated for you guys.
Does that affect the pricing on it?
It does not. The pricing, I believe, again, we kind of jumped the gun and went in reverse the last time we were here, but that is a price that is a city price. It is not per department. It is not a per seat arrangement. It is a partnership between the city and us, and we do not add any surcharges for adding documents or adding seats. We want to make sure that you all are using this to actually see the benefit of it. That remains our goal, to benefit local governments and using this technology in what we imagine to be a fruitful way.
Mr. Morris, say anything.
Yeah, just a comment. By the way, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. I think it's a really cool tool. I'm kind of a tech nerd, and like AI, I use AI some. Here's where I'm having trouble, and maybe you can help with this. It sounds like instead of us doing the work, somebody at your end is doing the work for an exchange of monetary compensation, which makes sense, right? You pay the people who are doing the work. And although I think it's a cool tool, I currently do all the stuff that you showed us in some form or fashion, right? And I have access to that, and we can keep track of that. There are ways of seeing it. So although I think it's really neat, I'm personally having a hard time seeing the outlay of money for a really neat tool that I don't see as necessary for a town the size of Tontitown.
Right. I mean, to be fair, we do work with several municipalities that are smaller than Tontitown. We tend to view this as a force multiplier. Insofar as you all are growing, I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are the fastest growing municipality in Arkansas. And with that, revenues tend to come a little bit after the growth that you're experiencing. Our idea is that the pricing that we set out tends to be about what you might pay a part-time employee, if I'm not mistaken, over the course of a year. Our idea is that if every person is using a tool like this and they are 1.5 times faster or more efficient at doing their job, you see more returns than just getting one part-time employee. And that's the logic behind something like this. It is trying to make sure that we can do more with less, which is the imperative of government. And that's how we view this tool.
Thank you. Can we do this with less employees? I mean, if we did this, I think what was said the last time you guys were here was that 50% of that time is freed up, which from a monetary standpoint sounds like we would have to let 50% of our people go if we adopt AI.
That is, I do want to make sure that our stance is not that.
Well, I know that that's not your stance, but if 50% of that time is freed up, you know what I mean?
Again,
And it is what was said last time.
Oh, well, I wasn't here, and I do apologize. I don't think that's our stance. Our stance tends to be that as this time is freed up, the time is spent on doing the things that require something that these technologies can't do. Insofar as this is able to do what I imagine to be some of the more clerical aspects of work, like looking through and finding ordinances and reading and interpreting those ordinances. That doesn't mean that it's going out and it's creating a city plan for what revenues will look like in the future, or trying to designate the things that, need a human touch. And being able to dedicate more hours to that sort of work to make sure that we don't get that sort of work wrong, where, putting our heads together and the human aspect is very necessary. We believe that freeing our staff up to do that sort of work will ultimately pay dividends. And I can't tell you all what decisions to make as it pertains to staffing, but it's never my position that I think this is meant to encourage staff loss. I just think it's meant to help staff who's probably overburdened or feels burnt out do more with less. I mean, this is an overarching national trend, but the amount of people who are going into civil administration as a career is reducing. Year over year over year, you're getting less people who are coming into public works, who are going into planning and these things that are very necessary, as you all know, to run a municipality. It's how to do, as that trend continues, we want to make sure that we're still able to service our communities the way that we would like.
I haven't noticed that trend. It seems like there's more government now than there used to be, but I could be wrong on that one. I don't want to let employees go. We have great employees. I think to let anybody go would be absolutely cruel. Certainly don't want to do that. But again, I'm sorry. I mean, you've given a fine presentation. I just personally, as much as I love the tech, I just don't see the place. We're not Bentonville. We're not Springdale. And I don't want to outlay a cost before those revenues show up. You are right. The people come, and then sometimes the money comes too, although property taxes in Tontitown only average about $400 per year per household, average household. So that's, again, depending on how big this is, that's potentially a large number. But thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions. I don't mean to put you on the hot seat.
No, not
I
at all.
very much appreciate your help.
Thank you.
One more time, Mike.
Yes, so following up on that, I'm sure you've addressed this issue before. Why Ordinal versus Chat or Claude or Copilot or any of the other ones?
So we've been able to achieve something that we think is really impressive. We have made our system to where you will not see a false positive in our information. When this provides you a response, we make sure to go through the extra effort. There is things that you see when you interact with our system. We'll go through one of the responses. You can see here, if you've ever interacted with these systems, they have a sycophantic tent. They like to tell you you're the smartest guy that ever lived anytime you ask it a question. The reason that it does that is because it's imperative when you are communicating with it is to continue that interaction. That's what the aim is. We have to take that away to make sure that we are giving you the best information possible. So we have to take away the personality, and then we have to shut this off from the internet. This is what's known as a closed loop LLM. We have to take away the capacity of it to look for information on the internet, because that leads to hallucinations. And then that second aspect is I need to take away, I can't let it like me. I don't want it to like me. I want it to give me the information that I'm looking for. And that is the other aspect of this. So those two things are separate. They are not in every chatbot. Not everybody is taking that. The other thing is, this is the market that we are in. We are not chasing federal contracts. I'm not looking to work with the FBI. I'm not looking to work with the Department of Defense. I'm looking to make municipal government easier. That is our explicit intent. With that, it's very hard to believe if you are buying 60 licenses from a ChatGPT that they are going to give you priority over the 6,000 to 20,000 that they sign up with the Department of Defense. This is the people that we are looking to serve. This is the community that we want to help. And as such, everything that we do, every tool that we built is with you all in mind. And you all are going to get, our service is geared towards this. This is a base enterprise that goes to any enterprise who wants it. This is what we do. We work with local governments.
And you guys have been around how long?
we'll be in 3 years. This will be our third year. The first year was pretty much just making a product. The second year was piloting out with 4 municipalities. And then from that period, now we've moved into our growth period where we are looking, where we're happy with where the product is, and we are ready to expand and work with other municipalities.
So it sounds like you're at least endeavoring to do something that are really, really different, which is great. However, for a 3-year-old company in Bentonville, Arkansas versus, some of these major tech companies in the Silicon Valley, I don't entirely know how we compete there. We're in a situation right now where we have like the mayor's secretary is a shared secretary. We don't have enough work for one. And so I don't know that we need to keep paring down, paring back some of that. Again, I think it's cool. I just don't know that we're quite there yet, personally. And again, the council, we will certainly talk about it and make a decision when that time comes. But thank you.
Thank you.
Anything, Mayor? Anything? Mike, anything else?
No, nothing else.
Danny, Misty? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have a discussion of a proposed amendment to Code 153.172, detached accessory dwelling units. Mr. Spurlock.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and before you, this was something that was tabled at our last committee of the whole meeting, and what we have sent over to you guys is both the revised version, the edits to you for you to look at, with some discussion that's went along with that over the last month. Tyler's here maybe to help answer if you guys have any questions, but this was to replace the code that we currently have to match state code. So, but this is before you with the edited versions as well. Any questions?
Questions, anyone?
One question. We've got this in here twice, and I know at least when we saw it on the Dropbox, it said one is clean, one is not. I don't see a difference. Are these the exact same thing?
Those should be well, I don't know if they're the same thing, but I did not see what came through the Dropbox.
Okay. Do you notice a difference, anybody? Okay, I think they're the same. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. And I still think it's a little wonky, but I understand, I think, what we're trying to do with that verbiage, and in as much as it does matter, I am okay with that tightened up verbiage. So thank you, Counselor. Appreciate that.
Yes. Anyone else? So do we move forward with this?
I think we pretty much have to, don't we? So,
Yeah, it's been approved by Planning Commission, so.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something we have to do.
Yeah, it's state
law.
code.
State law.
So, yeah, so I'll make a motion to move this forward to council.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Moving on.
Next, we have a discussion of payments to Black Hill Energy. Mayor, or Mr. Latham? Or we could have Zach come up and talk to us one more time.
Good evening, council. So, last time, we presented the bill from Black Hills Energy, and then tabled it. Since then, I did reach out to get additional information associated with the construction project. In your attachment, you should have the invoicing they paid to their contractor, as well as a brief overview of the cost increase. So I'll try to, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer for them, but I guess need to make a decision on what we need to do with this bill, so.
So they stayed with their 124 pretty hard?
They wouldn't come
Budget.
down off that, no.
The original problem that I had, and I maintain, is that they made a decision unilaterally without asking us. And we didn't give them our credit card. We didn't give them access to the bank account. And so for them to do something that is absolutely separate and different, they don't act as fiduciaries for us, to do something that's completely different from what we ask them to do and then charge us for it, in my mind, is just untenable. I understand we pay the bills. We pay for what we are supposed to pay for. We don't order a steak at Ruth's Chris and then say, oh, that was overdone, when I'm done with it. But if they bring me the lobster and I go, hey, I didn't order the lobster, right? I'm not going to pay for the lobster at market price. I just think it's, I don't think it's good business. I don't know what we do with it beyond here, but I just can't get behind it. But thank you for asking.
And this is just a personal note. I believe Mike said it the last time. We're going to pay our bills. I'm not sure that I, want to see a Black Hill executive in front of me anytime soon, but
Something I've thought about since last meeting is before this work even commenced, we did sign an agreement that says we would, reimburse Black Hills for this
But,
at a different estimated cost.
right.
Right.
But
I think
I didn't see in the contract, I'm so sorry, I didn't see in the contract, I mean, I see that the Andrew Russell stamp is there. What I didn't see is that in this contract, we say, hey, you guys do what you think's best.
Sure.
And we'll pay for it.
Sure. Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that statement. Moving forward, I think before we sign any type of agreement with Black Hills in the future, we work with Tyler and get another clause in there, maybe something to where it's like if they anticipate maybe a 10% price inflation for what they estimated it, that goes to the city directly, just to have it in the agreement as opposed to getting surprised on the back end. So
Yeah.
I think that would be a wise thing to do in the future, dealing with any company for that matter.
well, it's not a bad practice, is it?
Danny, you have any thoughts, comments?
No, I don't have any comments.
Misty? Mike?
Yeah, the only, I agree that we need to tighten this up in the future, but, paragraph 10, in the event Black Hills is required to initiate litigation to enforce the terms and conditions. Again, I don't know if it's in the terms and conditions of cost plus type of agreement, but I think with the supporting documentation of the invoices, that may give them a leg to stand on, so.
Right.
I think it sets a bad precedent to pay anybody whatever they ultimately charge us when it's nowhere close to the original amount. And yes, they can initiate litigation. I think in this case, we would win. I'm not trying to create an enemy in Black Hills Energy, personally or on behalf of the city. I'm disappointed that that's where they stand. And I wouldn't mind seeing a Black Hills executive to talk about it.
Mr. Farrar,
Sir,
what are your thoughts?
similar to what I mentioned last time, I see two issues with this contract, and they both come from section 4. It says the estimated cost of the work is $62,010, and it says after it has completed the work, Black Hills will bill developer for the actual cost of the work. You signed an agreement that said, we think it's going to cost $62,000, but we'll pay you for what it costs, and it came back costing double. I'm not so sure I agree with Mr. Burris's perspective. We win that litigation, unfortunately.
That's all right. You and I disagree from time to time.
It happens.
It does. Not today, though. So far, we've been doing all right. So then, in that verbiage for 4, I mean, was this just written in such a way that it very much benefited Black Hills, and our attorney at the time didn't do a good enough job of checking that out, or we didn't ask? I mean, is there nothing in here that says anybody can't just charge us anything they want? Because yes, we've got to pay our bills, number one, and number two, we've got to do what's legal, and we've got to do what's right. Those 3 things don't always go together. So what would you suggest we do?
As your attorney, I'm going to suggest that you pay your bills and follow the contracts that we sign. You asked me a series of questions in there. I'm not sure you know, I don't know what occurred at the time with this contract. I wasn't here. I don't know if it was reviewed or it wasn't reviewed, and it really doesn't matter now.
Sure.
You know, this contract on its face seems enforceable, and I think you need to understand if you don't pay it, then, you know, there's repercussions for not paying it. Again, if we have information, we've been through this before, if we have information to show that what we think we're getting charged doesn't line up with what we're getting charged, we can take that material back to them and say, hey, we think we owe you this instead of what you think you said we owe you. I mean, we can continue this negotiation, and maybe reach a different, agreed price point, but just in the 3 minutes we've been discussing this and I've had the contract in front of me, I mean, it's not great.
Yeah, I know that you weren't here, but do you know whether or not our attorney at the time reviewed it before it was signed by our mayor?
I have no idea.
Do you know that, Madam Mayor?
What if,
Well,
what if
it
we,
was, go, I'm sorry, Mr. Montez. go
Sorry.
ahead.
what if we paid the price we thought, we were gonna pay? What if we paid that and said, hey, we need to discuss this overage and come to a common ground where, we kind of meet in the middle or something?
I think,
I like
isn't
that idea.
that what you tried to negotiate over the last month?
Yeah, I
Was-
mean, yeah, and keep in mind their initial price point was 305,000.
Right.
So I've almost knocked 200 off of it.
And to litigate this, it probably cost us 40. So I say you
Right.
pay the 124
And talking with
and get better
Don,
contracts in
Yeah.
the future.
Don was the utility construction planner representative. He felt like, judging by his discussion, he felt like this was a fair number from their perspective. And so we're kind of at an impasse here.
And Don works not for Black Hills, but for Compass Energy?
No, he's the Black Hills utility
Okay.
representative.
So he thinks the Black Hills number is fair,
Yeah,
the guy who works for Black Hills?
Exactly. But I think we're at an impasse
Yeah,
between the two of us.
Well, I will make a motion that we go ahead and pay this amount. I know we don't like it. We're swallowing a bitter pill, but and part of that's on us too. There's a good possibility that we saw this contract come before us
So,
and
yeah.
signed off on the just looked at the bottom line number and, we didn't do our due diligence either. So, I mean, I don't remember. The Montagani Half Street stuff was, of course, this was in the midst of, I don't even know when this signed.
I think
was
at
signed in
least 2
February
years ago, if not 3.
24, okay. So it probably did come before us and we probably signed off on it. So I think we need to pay our bill.
Mayor?
Yes, that is way over my spending limit, so it definitely did come before council before I signed off on that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Now, is this going to have to go to council for final approval or, okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure. Okay, Tim,
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Misty? Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
moving to council.
Next, we have a discussion of Placer AI pricing. Mr. Spurlock.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I brought this before you last time at the CAL meeting, and you guys wanted to see maybe some comparisons to what we were originally supposed to be looking at for this Placer AI, which we did a little bit of a presentation for. You guys reviewed that. But here's some different platforms that are out there that do things a little similar. Placer AI, of course, has its own proprietary system. But there's some different ways of how you can look at this. So I didn't want to get this before you because this is what you guys wanted to see. I hope you had a chance to review it and kind of give us a direction which way you want us to go, if we can move forward. Moving this to council to present as a contract with Placer AI, or if you wanted to study this some more.
I guess one obvious question for me is, and we just had an AI presentation from Ordinal. These are two completely different
Yes,
animals.
yes.
So, we're gonna have to build our own data center with all the AI that we're getting here. Just remind everyone, if you don't mind, Mr. Spurlock, of the features that have drawn you to this program, please.
Sure. Placer AI was something that we did in the presentation. It showed a lot of traffic that comes through the city of Tontitown. It would be designed for us. It's based off mobile cellular data. It kind of gives us an idea where people go, where people shop, where people are coming from, how far they're coming from. So it kind of gives us an idea of, and it also gives us an idea of what we're missing here in Tontitown, what kind of business we can use to go forward. With that being said, it can help us direct a presentation to any people that we might think is a good prospect for business. It also gives us that number of foot traffic. It also helps us on our street counts. So it'll definitely tell us how many street counts we have going forward. Can definitely help on the street department as far as what we see is busy. Maybe help improve our streets, kind of prioritize our street function. So that was kind of the main features that we liked about it. Again, we went a couple months ago, reviewed this with P Ridge. P Ridge really likes it. So that was one reason that we sat down with them and talked with the company Placer AI, and felt very comfortable with their presentation. So again, you guys wanted to see some different pricing, but you know, like I said, if you guys want to study it some more, that's fine. But they do call and ask how everything went, and I try to let them know what we've discussed. So.
I personally use this program at work. It helps us determine what retailers are buying,
Yes.
so we can help with pricing and stuff. So I've seen it now from both sides. It's a very good program. It's very user-friendly.
Yes.
It's got amazing capabilities. So maybe I'm biased because I personally already use it, but it is a great program.
Yeah. And what I brought to you last time was, if we were to do this, it'd be active starting July 1st. We'd get half the price going forward, and then it would roll over into a full annual contract price.
And remind again, the full annual, I see a range here, so.
Yeah, I was trying to think, it was around $13,000.
Okay.
So.
So on the low end of their tiers.
Yeah.
And then also, I did see in their paperwork, I don't know, it must have been from last time, but kind of a mandatory training
Yes.
for anyone who
Yes.
uses. Does that include council, or is that just?
Yeah, if you guys
city
want to be a part of it,
employees, or-
absolutely, we could definitely set you guys up.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Spurlock?
Yes.
What is your current form of promoting businesses to come to Tontitown, and who do you look for, and how do you?
Well, we get a lot from Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning. We talk to them. They have ideas of kind of the traffic we get through here. And others just word of mouth, what we hear from citizens, what they'd like to see, what they'd like to promote here. So that's kind of our main two forms that we get.
And can I just kind of piggyback off, are you done, Mr. Montez?
Go ahead. I'll let.
No,
yield to
go
you.
ahead.
Fine.
I want you to finish.
That's okay. I'll let you go.
Well, with that in mind, coming up this fall, voters in Arkansas are going to have a chance to vote on cities to create economic development zones. There's a pretty strong belief of the proponents of the legislation that it will pass pretty easily. And it will put us, we know the economy here is doing pretty well. It's not the same for other places, but we may have to fight other cities locally for retail businesses.
Yes.
And this might be a tool that you could use to gain a strategic advantage over some other people.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yes.
But that's coming down the pike. They're going to really push hard to get that passed. So it may take it a while to go into effect, but I suspect that it will pass the referendum this November.
Sure.
Still scratching my head over this one.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of sons that work at Chick-fil-A. Go buy a chicken sandwich tonight. Tell them I said.
And they'll tell you that that's where a lot of people go.
Well, yeah, they would say that. That is true. And they just had a corporate visit. They're doing really well
Yes.
on a national level. So Chick-fil-A came to visit another location, one down south somewhere, I think Fort Smith. And they said, hey, that Springdale store is doing really well. We should go see them. So they stopped by and they visit them, and then they decided to come back this morning because they were so impressed by what they saw last night. They wanted to see more. And so they're videoing and they're using it as a way to talk to other owner-operators and, hey, here's what we want y'all to do. I know a company like Chick-fil-A is going to use something like Placer. So is Subway, so is everybody.
Sure.
Right? Because they want to know where is the traffic and where we're going to put these people. I totally get it on that side. What I'm having a hard time understanding is, even though, and this is me looking at Placer's stuff, they can give us the data of where the foot traffic is. They can even potentially tell us why foot traffic isn't in a place, but they can't tell us how to fix it. And I think a lot of that stuff we can already know without spending $13,000 a year. Now, I know that we have a big budget, and I know that Tontitown isn't struggling with money in quite the same way that we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But I still don't quite see, cool as it is, and I think it's really neat data, and I love to slice and dice it. I just don't know how it helps us. And I think Tontitown really does have a dearth of businesses. I think we could use more of that. I mean, despite the fact that we've got businesses all up and down 412, we need some of that. I just can't see yet, I don't have the vision yet of how we use this to get a Chick-fil-A in Tontitown or something like it, right? So help me with that.
Sure.
How are we going to use that?
And thank you, and I respect your opinion on that. But one thing it does try to find those holes.
Yep.
That we are lacking here in Tontitown. So it can say, okay, you guys don't, we may have a plethora of Italian restaurants. We may be lacking somewhere else. It will kind of give us that information. It'll give us maybe the top retailer, such as a Chick-fil-A, somebody that we can go after and try to maybe make a presentation to come to our city. So it will identify maybe the holes that we have as far as a particular type of business. So that's the one advantage that I can see, but I go back to it, it would definitely help the street department as well. So that's where I see some different advantages we'd have for the city.
Tell me more about streets.
It'll give us a
piqued
count.
my interest.
It'll give us a count. It gives a count of the traffic that goes through those streets. So as we're preparing things for the street department on how to overlay things and to fix our streets, it'll give us a count of what streets are being used, the most active streets. So it'll definitely kind of give us a heads up on what we need to do for the street department.
Okay.
So.
And that other stuff, I mean, I get it.
Sure.
Yes, we need a chicken place. You hear us, Slim Chickens? You hear us, Chick-fil-A? Please come save us from our lack of chickenness. I'm sure there are other chicken companies that are just fine. We'll talk to you too. I get the streets thing, but again, like that's the one where I go, oh, I get that. But again, is that a $13,000 fix, right? I don't know. So I'm not quite there yet. But you just helped me a bunch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I respect your opinion. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Brad.
with the right business, you recoup that in sales
Sure.
tax
Right.
in
Sure.
2 weeks.
Sure.
So,
And I will say just,
and it's not a contract that's in perpetuity. We
Yeah.
can, if we find that it's not a useful tool for us, we just cancel the contract.
So if
I will say this from the standpoint of reaching out to a business already. During our presentation they did with us, they gave us a list of places, and Mark and I were there, and I said, hey, give me a name and address of this. Sprouts Market, which is kind of a
Yep.
Whole Foods type deal. They gave me all that information. I sent off some information to them just in their presentation. So
Okay.
just to have kind of an alternative grocery store.
okay, so again, you're talking my language.
There we go.
So as we get that data, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
But we don't have a chamber of commerce.
No.
I mean, who is beating down Chick-fil-A's door?
Mark and I.
Okay, because you guys don't have anything else to do.
Well, I mean, but at the same time,
Maybe that's why we need the AIs to.
well, if
bring
we
you
get
guys-
into negotiation, of course, the mayor's going to be very vital in stuff like this too. So, but I mean, we kind of are the initial starting points. But yeah, any kind of negotiation we do, we're definitely going to have her involved with this.
Okay, so again, I like that idea, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that we have lacked for many, many years. Like, let's go after
Right.
these companies and say, hey, you know what? If you had a neighborhood market, if you had a Sprouts, if you had a
I will say I've not heard back from them yet.
Chick-fil-A, yeah. Well, they'll call.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
But it also helps in that you get to see it on the map of where these
Absolutely.
are. So we
Yes.
can say, well, we don't want that one because we've already got one. Let's bring what we don't have.
Exactly.
Like it's just so plethora of what it can offer
Yes.
to fill those gaps, but bring something here that you don't have in Northwest Arkansas. It's just a very, very helpful tool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else?
Danny, anything?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Do we need to, is this something we need to put on the agenda immediately, or? Okay,
I'll make a motion to move this to council.
Second.
roll call.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Mike.
Yes.
Moving on.
Next, we have a discussion acknowledging the resignation of council member Amber Ibarra. Mayor.
Okay, this is just a formality. We need to accept Ms. Ibarra's resignation. She read it last week. We should all have a copy of that. Just need to get a vote on it.
Just make a motion.
If there's no second, she has to come back.
By the way, I wasn't making a motion. I was telling you someone needs to put that into a motion.
I'll make that motion that
I'll
we accept the
second.
resignation.
Roll call.
Daniel. She's not coming back.
Yeah, I'm looking for what was in my packet. I don't see it in there, but, yes.
Tim,
I'll abstain.
Yes.
Mike, Larry,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
acknowledged.
Excuse me. Moving on to new business, we have a discussion and update on a progress report for the 412 Barrington project from Jonathan Ely, Burns and McDonald's Engineering, sponsored by the mayor and Mr. Latham.
And Chick-fil-A, thank you.
Yeah, I asked Jonathan to come forward, kind of give you an update on where we're on in this project. It's kind of slowed down a little bit regarding environmental. And so I want him to give you an update. I hope to try to get a decision at the council if we can move this forward on whether we want to continue to pursue the tunnel idea or we just need to move on. You know, we really need to apply for funding for construction next year. So we've got to get the right of way, we've got these utilities, which we have funding this year to do, but we're held up on getting the plans forward. So I'm going to have Jonathan come up, talk a little bit with you all about that.
Evening, council. Yeah, just a few updates. So 30% design has been completed. That was submitted to RDOT late last year. We received some comments back from them early this year. One of those comments was related to environmental impacts on some threatened and endangered species that are known to live in this area. They're associated with karst. So a couple of species there that we've been working with RDOT on, you know, what are those impacts going to be? The comment came from them specifically related to the tunnel. And so that's what kind of started us down this road of, well, do we need to remove that tunnel part of the project? Does that eliminate the concerns? Of course, we don't really want to do that. That tunnel, you know, the pedestrian crossing and the safety improvements that it provides are very important. But maybe that's a future phase. You know, it could always be done later if that happens, and that allows the rest of the intersection improvements to go ahead and move forward. So we've been working with RDOT over the last couple of months to try to figure out what this means. And really what it's boiled down to is that RDOT is currently working with FHWA and U.S. Fish and Wildlife to develop a programmatic agreement. And so what that will allow them to do is kind of streamline this review and mitigation efforts of these endangered species. That's a big part of kind of what slowed everything down, is because that agreement's not in place yet. It's in its final review, and they feel pretty good about it, but you know, it's just not finalized yet, not signed off. And so where we're at today is regardless of whether the tunnel is in the project or not, the project will have impacts to these species, and so there will be a mitigation impact likely to that. It just comes down to, is the tunnel, I think from a council perspective, and where Mark and I wanted to get a little bit of feedback is, does the council still really support that tunnel? And I can touch on a few points related to that. It was about the tunnel construction itself. So if you count all the retaining walls, the tunnel getting across the highway and all that, we're talking about $2.5 to $3 million of a $12 million project, just to give you a little bit of perspective there. The mitigation cost savings, like if we're estimating the current mitigation cost could be around $100,000 to $110,000 on the project, if they leave the calculator alone the way they have it sitting today. The tunnel's mitigation cost might save about $15,000 if it was to be removed to the project right now. So not a huge savings there compared to the overall project cost, but wanted you to be aware of that. So really, I think at this point, we're ready to move the project forward one way or the other, and we're just looking for your feedback.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room for just a second?
Sure.
If I can ask a couple questions. By the way, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are these species.
Mhm.
What are they exactly?
So
What are they?
so two species, Ozark cavefish and the Benton County cave crayfish.
The Benton County crayfish are coming down here. I say we kick them back to Benton County. Can we do
So
that?
there are two zones. There's one in North Benton County that's basically all of Bella Vista. And then it's basically from here to Siloam, and it kind of stretches into the southwest corner of Benton County.
Okay, well, we certainly don't want to mess with our beloved Benton County crayfish. I have nothing against crayfish.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not an anti-crayfish person. And I think they're yummy. Aside from that, so who is, I'm going to try to be really careful with my verbiage. Who is upset about the blind cavefish and the Benton County crayfish?
So U.S. Fish and Wildlife is the reviewing agency for threatened and endangered species.
Okay.
Yep.
Super. Now, the same karst formation where these blind cavefish and Benton County crayfish live is underneath the waste management landfill. I mean, they're all dead over there. I understand, but it's there. So it's an odd thing that we can't do this thing that we can do across the street. Go right ahead.
What I was going to say is not too long ago, they did find them also in Johnson and in Siloam Springs. And of course, they're surrounded all around the landfill, but they're still allowed to
Right.
dig holes and stick
With
trash
all
in.
that said, don't want to do anything to harm our blind cavefish. They're blind after all. They have little seeing eye fish.
I don't think these were the blind ones.
No, they're from blind caves, but they're not
You're
blind
right,
themselves. Understood. I don't mean to joke about these species. We're certainly not trying to kill off any species. But is there a place, is there a way where we can push back a little bit on just how bizarre all this seems, that just a couple miles away from here, we've got the same karst formation with, a landfill dripping into our waterways, to either one of you, to any one of you. Is there any way for us to do anything about that, or does the channel have to die?
I think there's always room for a conversation. The struggle is that because the dollars associated with this project are grant funded dollars that came from regional planning, that money gets funneled from the Federal Highway Association through Arkansas DOT to regional planning to Tontitown. And so because they've got the ultimate purse strings at federal highways, they're going to say you have to follow X, Y, Z or you don't get the funding.
Right.
And so I think there's certainly room for conversation in how that gets implemented, especially at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife local level. When it comes to that mitigation calculator and the process moving it forward, are there things that we can do to speed it up? Things like that. I don't know that we're going to get to a position where we've completely, they're going to agree that the project doesn't have impacts, but there may be things that we can do to speed it up.
Well, maybe what it does is it means that, in all fairness, that we have to do whatever we can do to protect these species, right? I mean, we don't want the dodo bird disappearing, right? We don't want that to happen. But maybe we just need to make sure that particular concern is spread throughout the area, in all areas that are concerned, which isn't necessarily germane to this particular discussion. But how do you suggest that we move forward in this particular situation?
My suggestion is to move forward with the project as it's been programmed, with the tunnel included. I think the value of the tunnel, the safety aspects of that with the traffic on 412 are just much needed. And 412, even though we're, yes, 612 is being built, and yes, by the time Barrington intersection improvements are under construction, hopefully 612 is open and it pulls some truck traffic off, but I think we all know that it's not going to be the magic bullet that pulls all the traffic.
But how do we
off of
continue that
412.
project, Jonathan, without harming these species?
So it's just it's not that we won't, it's just an acknowledgement that the project has impact and here's the mitigation cost associated with that. And so essentially it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife, RDOT agreeing that here's the project. We have 5 acres of impact with our project, and here's the cost associated with that.
When you say the cost associated with that, like
There's a-
we pay a price for murdering all the cave fish.
There's a
and the
calculator
crayfish.
that's based on real estate values that essentially goes into a fund to preserve land and habitat in another location in their circle, so in this region.
I have something. If I
Go
can.
ahead, please.
All right, thank you, sir. I do know that from the past, and I'm sure that all the council will remember this, whenever we were trying to change the grant funding from the stoplight, it completely messed everything up, and I know that we almost was not able to get the grant if we didn't
Yeah, I
go,
recall.
if we didn't go forward with the exact plan.
Right.
And
I know Mark has had some conversations with regional planning about if the tunnel was removed. It does sound like potentially there's some options there where funding could still be preserved. So it's not like it would take the whole project away. It's just that the money that has been spent, for instance, you all have paid us to design a certain part of that may not be reimbursable
Correct.
if you remove that part out of that. So that money that you've paid us to design that part, you couldn't go ask regional planning to pay you that back
us
because you
that
pulled
money
it from the
back.
project. Yeah, right. So there's some loss associated with it, but you would still get, most of the money, it sounds like.
Okay.
Could you remind us how much that would be if we pulled that?
It's hard to put a number to it, but I think we did estimate it's in the ballpark of like $50,000, $50,000 to $80,000. So compared to the, overall project costs, construction again was 12 million. I think right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations are estimated to be $1 million or $2 million. So it's probably in the ballpark of a $15 million all-in, project, to give you a kind of scale of reference.
Okay, and now remind me,
Sure.
Mayor Russell, that $15 million, how much of that is paid by grant money and how much of that is paid by us?
It was it 80-20 on that one, Mark? Yeah, 80-20. And of course, just to reiterate what you said earlier, and the reason that we did this in the first place is I had citizens contacting me because of the safety issue of getting across the highway. And that is a really bad place to try to get across whenever you're coming to the park, going to the schools. We
Right.
need something to protect the citizens.
Yeah,
A foot.
I mean,
A foot or on both.
yeah, 412 is among the highest east-west corridor vehicles per day in northwest Arkansas. So it's Highway 102, Centerton, Bentonville, Weddington, and Fayetteville, and 412 are like the 3 highest east-west traveled corridors. And if you look at what's being done on those areas, if you look at what's suggested with the regional plans, when you've got that much traffic on a road, there's really just, the only safe way to cross that is to eliminate the conflict points and grade separate it.
Is there any other way? Instead of going under, do we go over? There was a former mayor that loved the idea of going over it.
Right.
I wasn't crazy about that idea, but
We did look at that. The problem with going over is that, you know, you've got to get the 17 feet of clearance over the highway. So instead of being 10 or 12 feet below the highway, we got 17 feet above it to get the truck clearance. And then the bridge structure sits above that, and then we've got to get ADA accessibility up to it.
And the
So-
cost was, we looked into that, the cost was unbelievable.
And the property impacts are much greater because we end up with about twice as long of ramps, you know, on either side of it to get up to that elevation.
Would
So-
there be concern of any kind of other conservation efforts to hinder that?
It would still have impacts. That's the thing too, is, you know, the bridge is still gonna have piers. It's still gonna, you know, it's still gonna have impacts to the same structures.
Mm.
And so we'd still be dealing with the same issues. So, and again, to touch back on it, regardless of whether the tunnel's there or not, these karst issues are still there.
Yeah.
The species are still there. The project intersection improvements with the road widening, the storm drainage and all that will still have impacts. So regardless of whether the tunnel's removed or not, project's still gonna have the impacts. And so that's part of the reasoning, and my recommendation is we're still gonna have to go through the process. We might as well get it all cleared and just stick to the plan.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you.
So moving forward, what do we do here? Just, was this strictly a discussion, or do we need to vote as a council on what we're doing?
Well, I was thinking that we'd have a discussion and then you guys can think about it a little bit and we'll come back at the council and make a decision. Unless
Do
you
we
want to make a
need to move this
decision
to council,
tonight,
though?
that's fine too. I don't care.
So I did have one other question. What are the chances U.S. Fish and Game just says, no, you can't do the tunnel under any circumstances. You can't mitigate your damages from this. It's too costly to the environment.
it's a great question.
I guess I don't know that that's a very, very high probability, just because if they were to do that, it would essentially, like you said, I mean, development in this region would come to a screeching halt if they were to try to take a stance like that. So
Okay.
I think that's a pretty low probability. I mean, it's not to say it
It's not
couldn't happen.
zero.
Yeah, it's not
We're
zero.
saying there's a chance.
Yeah, you never know
Okay.
with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Yeah.
All right. Appreciate that.
Yep.
So are we going to move this to council? Are we going to talk about it some more, or ponder it, or what are we going to do?
Well, based on what I've heard, I think let's proceed with the plans that we have in place and see where that gets us. I mean, I think sounds like the most prudent option on the table.
And I agree with that assessment.
Council.
So if we need to move it to council, I'll motion that we move it to
Okay,
council.
move it to
Second.
council. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Moving on.
Next, we have a discussion on Act 848, Artificial Intelligence Policy. Mayor.
Okay, we added this to our handbook to be in compliance with the 848 of 2025. And all AI-related content for this policy was developed by the Municipal League and formatted to align with our city's standards. Once this policy is implemented, all employees will be required to complete AI training and sign an acknowledgement confirming completion. The training covers approved use of AI as well as specific information that must not be entered into the AI tools. It is essential that every employee would understand these limitations, so they would have to have training on this. In addition, all new employees will be required to complete the AI training as part of their onboarding process. So this is just a policy.
I do have a question for you, Madam Mayor. Would this pertain to council as well, or is this just a,
Council, if council is wanting to use this, yes, you would have to have the AI training.
One of the things that stood out to me was, pardon me, the third paragraph. Whereas the act requires that any consequential decision involving artificial intelligence must be reviewed and finalized by a human employee or authorized designee. How do we do that? Because, I mean, fundamentally speaking, the way that people use AI today is we look something up because we're looking for an answer, we get the answer, and we act upon that answer. So is that all that we're talking about? We see it, obviously it's being reviewed by a human because a human just typed it in, and then the human goes, yes, I'm going to do that thing. I mean, is that all we're talking about? Because if that's the case, that, I mean, maybe legally we have to have that paragraph, but it seems like a silly paragraph,
Right.
if that's the case.
Like I said, this was all formatted from the municipal league, and everyone must have the AI training in order to know how and what they can put in the AI tools.
The guy that went to law school is looking at me, yeah.
The statute says that is a requirement of your AI policy, that a human's actually making decisions. They don't want you to write a program and then send it off to make decisions. They want a human who actually reads and reviews it.
Well, I didn't finish law school, as you know, because I didn't start. You
I did that for you.
Thank you. So I agree. I think you're 100% right, Tyler.
Appreciate that affirmation. It did a lot for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
So
do.
basically, we just need to move it. If no one has any other questions, we just need to move. this
you have
to
a question.
council.
Of course I do.
Sure.
I used AI to come up with a checklist of things that the Act 848 must have compliance with. And a couple of things that stood out to me. The checklist asks, does it address compliance with FOIA and public records laws? And I mean, did I miss that in there? And I'll just go ahead and give you my second one too. Most of the, by the way, we hit the checklist on all of these except for that one. I think there's maybe a hole there. And then our disciplinary procedures defined for misuse. Now, maybe the municipal league says that doesn't have to be in here, but this is the checklist that was generated for me. And then the third thing is, does it align with existing personnel and IT policies? And it probably does, or is it a standalone, or is it used as a supplement in conjunction with the existing policies?
Everyone's looking at me.
Aren't those great questions?
I think these
though?
are
Those
all, I think
great
these are all
questions.
legal questions.
Yeah, they
for
are.
you.
So let me take them one at a time. So I don't see anything here about the FOIA requirements either. As I glance at it, that's easy enough. I read the statute and I don't remember it saying that you had to have a FOIA. I mean, obviously we're going to comply with the FOIA, whether or not we have a standalone AI policy or not, but that's one sentence we can add, no problem. Your other question was,
Do we know that Mike was authorized to review and finalize the fact that he used?
we
that
haven't
and
passed the
that's
policy
thing?
yet, so
Yeah.
you don't have to comply
Okay,
with it.
Good.
The second one was, are there disciplinary procedures defined for misuse? And that may be in there.
That's a
again.
great.
Yeah.
Section 3 talks about prohibited uses, but it doesn't.
Well, 9
and
is
5 talks about disciplinary.
9 is disciplinary action, and it's just broad.
Okay,
It's-
you're talking about in Exhibit A.
Yeah, Exhibit A is the actual policy itself.
Gotcha.
You guys are looking at the resolution
Oh,
to
yeah.
adopt the policy.
Okay, so that, we can scratch that one. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, and I read this, and I do think there's something about FOIA compliance somewhere. It may have ended up in the actual handbook.
Well, I mean, I'm sure state law on FOIA is going to supersede this anyway.
It is.
Right? But, you know, I guess just to dot all the i's and cross all the t's. And it may not be part of Act 848. Truthfully, I did not read that act. I just used AI to find my checklist. So
Exactly what they're
that
worried about.
human interaction is using my own two eyes to look over the specific bill that became Act 848. I did not do.
Well, number 3 kind of, I mean, it's a draft, research and information gathering, documents reporting, which is part of FOIA. So it's kind of broad, but I mean, that's kind of what it'd be using it for in some use of it, if that makes sense.
You're talking about Exhibit A, authorized use, number 3, is that
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm
Okay,
talking
thank you.
about.
just
So I
make
feel
sure I'm
like that kind
That's all
of,
right. I'm make sure I'm
Well,
keeping up with you.
I'm speed reading the act, and it doesn't say that you have to have any independent FOIA language in there, right? So, I mean, as long as we comply with our FOIA obligations, the policies.
Yeah,
Fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
state law's obviously going to rule there.
Yeah, you don't have to acknowledge the FOIA in every
Yeah.
policy you pass, right? You just comply with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is it you want on this now, Mayor?
I make a motion to move this to city council.
Are there any tweaks that we want to make to it, or are we good with the language that's in there, Mr. Farrar?
Presently, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Especially if this came to us via the municipal league, right? This was a
Yeah.
sample
Okay.
policy they drafted, their lawyers drafted
Fair
it. so,
enough, I'll
yeah.
second.
That is correct.
Roll call.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
moving to city.
Next, we have a discussion of a resolution to accept amendments to the employee handbook. Mayor.
Basically, this is just the last final copy of the employee handbook that we have updated and discussed as council.
Do you want me to speak to this?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so even early on, when you were talking to me about being your city attorney, you were asking me to look at your employee handbook. That was like one of the questions you asked me during my job interview, if I would do that. So I've done that, and I made a lot of changes. Your employee handbook came to you via the municipal league. It was okay. It wasn't like bad at all, but I took the time to take it up a notch or two. It was missing some policies. It was missing some employment law stuff. A lot of grammatical changes. It had a lot of red in it, but I spent some hours on that, and I think it's just being submitted to you as a periodically revised employee handbook. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Thank you.
Thoughts? We going to accept as is and move on with this?
I didn't see anything that I felt like a lot of it was updated. So I make a motion to move this to city council if no one else has anything.
What was the date when you guys sent that handbook? It's in your email.
It's been at least a week, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
we got it early, so we'd have time to go through
Do
it.
you remember when that was?
I don't.
That's right. Thank you. Try to find it, Mike.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
April 27th, it was last night.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
No.
Misty,
Yes.
moving to city. As is,
As is, as
As written.
corrected or
as written.
That's correct.
amended.
Is it too late to hear Councilmember Montez's view? I mean, we already voted on it, but, okay.
Moving on, we have a discussion of an ordinance for the city to request, SOQs and RFQs for IT services. Danny?
Yes, got this resolution before you, basically putting it in writing, to include, requesting those statements of qualifications and RFQs for, IT services.
Is that going forward, or does that include our current IT services provider?
I guess one could look at it both ways. I would probably say going forward, as we update them, we just did, something with Mr. Clark, where he had to send out some engineering RFQs. So this could be something where that was updated. I mean, I guess you could go back immediately and get those now if you so desire.
Mayor?
Okay, after reviewing this ordinance, found that the city already has a complete framework in place through state law, our purchasing manual, and our financial policy to properly handle professional services procurement. The ordinance is largely redundant and doesn't add any new authority or solve any existing issues. Adding another layer of regulation could create unnecessary risk and confusion if there are inconsistencies between documents. And for these reasons, I think it is best not to be implementing this policy and continuing with our current policies that we have already put in place, that we've already adopted.
I appreciate that, and with all due respect, I agree. But we've had a lot of redundancy tonight. We voted on some things that are not required by law, acknowledged things that aren't required by law, et cetera. Counselor, do you concur with the mayor's view on that last statement?
You haven't given me sufficient time to form an opinion on that. So the opinion that the mayor just espoused was that this ordinance is redundant and unneeded, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't want to answer that right now. I honestly don't. I read this for legal sufficiency and compliance, but for Councilmember Montez, but I didn't look at it through that lens. I mean, okay, so redundancy isn't great, but if it stands to clarify anything, even if some components of it are redundant, then I guess I could see some utility and value in it. But I don't want to answer beyond that. I don't know.
That's fine. I think,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Okay. The city currently operates under the state law, which already governs professional services procurement, qualifications-based selections and negotiations. The purchasing manual, which we have already put into place, does the procurement procedure, approval of thresholds like department head, mayor, and council. It also does the documentation and the contract requirements. We already have that in place. Our financial policy ensures budget control and expenditure oversights, and I feel like that we already have in place what we need in place. And like I said, the ordinance is largely redundant, and the ordinance attempts to formalize the RFQs and the SOQ process. We already have the stuff in place.
What is the prevailing ordinance, please? Number?
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
The prevailing ordinance, the ordinance that you say is in place?
The state law, number one. Two is the purchasing manual that we approved, that Mr. Latham put together. Also, the financial policy, again, which Mr. Latham put together.
Okay, but that's not an ordinance. So, so we don't have an ordinance, is what it sounds like. We've got other markers in place. I don't, I mean, if it's not, I mean, it's a new ordinance, not, it may be a redundancy, but it does put something with some more teeth in it. Mr. Montez, would you be amenable to tabling so we can research these other avenues to see if they're sufficient, give Mr. Farrar some time to look over them and see if the ordinance is necessary, or, I mean.
No, sir. I think if we passed it to, this was brought to, I tried to bring it to y'all's attention, I think last city council.
Right.
It was denied to get on that, so
Right.
it was pushed to this. I think you've got enough time before next city council meeting to get those answers.
Fair enough.
And get that. So I'd really like to not delay this any further. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to have some kind of ordinance in place to direct city officials to get these statements of qualifications for any service that we're looking to hire, whether it's IT or it's attorney or it's engineers. I think this helps guide us in what we need to do as a procedural manner to make sure we're hiring the best for whatever purpose the city needs.
Yeah,
Can I speak?
ask him, not me.
Mr.
I
Burrs,
did.
Mr. Burrs, I
Go
think,
go right ahead, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I just wanted to say that with this ordinance, it does not improve the current process. It does not strengthen existing controls, and it does not address the known issues. Instead, it duplicates what is already in place, adds complexity, and increases administrative and legal risk. Also, the risk of conflict and inconsistency with these policies is greatly important to our city. We already have these in place.
May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
please.
With all due respect, Madam Mayor, I don't often hear you get this passionate about something or against something. And we may do it, and that's great that we do it, but you just made a comment about legally we don't need it, but our attorney has yet to make that announcement. Number one. Number two, I like the idea of an ordinance if it takes it from three places and distills it down into a one-pager that's on the books. I do like that. And then, thirdly, what I try to do when one of my fellow council members brings something to the table is I try to give it as much of an opportunity as possible, and hear both sides. And I appreciate very much what you had to say, both of you. But I'm having a hard time seeing that this is so bad that we can't do it. Is there any way that you could be amenable to moving it forward and seeing where it goes, or are you just adamantly opposed?
No, it's not that I adamantly oppose. I'm just very scary. It's very scary, and it makes me come back and think about, we've already got certain things in place. Why are we being redundant and putting other things in place? Like I said, it could be a legal risk, increases administrative and legal risk. I think it might be a good idea for us to maybe table it and go back and do some more, get some more information on this.
Councilor Farrar, do you have any of the same legal fears that our mayor does currently?
So having heard more information, since I answered this question a minute ago, I didn't realize that the city didn't have an existing ordinance in place for this kind of process. I'm not as quick to call it a redundancy if there's no existing ordinance in place. I mean, recall the ordinance is the city's law. If you have a purchasing manual, that's going to be not necessarily a legal document, but a guidance or advisory document. So, yeah, I think I'd like more time to look at this, and it sounds like there may be a real need for the city to have something in writing here that is a little stronger and has more teeth in it than a purchasing manual.
May I bring up one point about that too? Ordinances are available for public view, whereas the purchasing manual, I don't think the public has access to. I may be wrong about that. But ordinances are definitely out there for everybody to see. And I mean, I didn't see anything harmful in just the cursory review, but if you want more time.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I need more time. It's whatever the council wants. If you want me to look into it, then I will. But one question I would have is anything in this inconsistent with what is in our purchasing processes or manuals? I mean, we want to make sure that we're not passing ordinances that are inconsistent with our practices.
And
So
that's what I don't have at my disposal. And Mr. Montez, since you've done the work on this, maybe you can expound on that. Are there any inconsistencies or?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't believe there's any inconsistencies in it. I think it strengthens the process that we go through to get these documents to make our decisions. And I think this just kind of throws in the IT. Really, I want to get the IT in there just because I think we need to have that to where we're getting vetted information from these companies as we go forward and making sure we're getting the best people forward.
Did you happen to actually compare and look at, were you able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, did you see any inconsistencies? You had just said you didn't
Yeah.
really look at it, so I just wanted to make sure.
I don't think I said I didn't look at it. I said yes. Yeah, I didn't see any inconsistencies in there.
You did not, okay.
I'm willing to make a motion to move it forward. It gives us 2 weeks to sort of dig into it and see if you guys are amenable to that, but I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Moving to city.
Next, we have a discussion of awarding bid for a mini excavator for the street department. Mr. Latham.
This is the first piece of equipment they purchased for the street department they actually own. And utilizing mainly, when they can, the water and sewer. And James is looking to upgrade his, I think it's on the agenda. On April 16th, we opened bids up for a new mini excavator for the street department. We received 5 bids. I did want to mention that we spec'd out, there was 3 specific models that we spec'd out. One was a Cat 306 CR, one was a Bobcat E60, and the other one was a Valvo. Although the Bobcat came in the lowest, we're a little concerned at the time frame that won't meet our needs. Delivery, which is 30 to 60 days, and I want you to just kind of think on this a little bit. We've been renting $1,300 a week a mini excavator. They've done some work out on Steel Road, removing roots that's underneath the road that we're going to try to repair. But they're using it all the time, specifically in some of the storm areas that we've had to remove tree limbs and things like that. We're down on Kelly when we had that storm come through. So we're renting one. If we have to wait 2 months for the low bid to come in, we're going to be spending close to $10,000 just on that rental. So I'm actually making a recommendation that we move to purchase the Cat 306 CR, which can be delivered within a week. It's a little more expensive, but we're not familiar with that Tika thing or whatever the thing was. It was 86,000. Yeah.
The TB260 or the Tech
Yeah,
machine?
yeah. Well, it's some kind of Japanese model or whatever, but
Does it matter, Mr. Latham, that the bucket of that 306 CR is only 24 inches versus?
no, they added a 4-foot bucket. They come both with a 2-foot and a 4-foot.
Oh, I see that there,
Yeah.
24 and the 48.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing about CAD, it's local, so if it breaks down, they're close to being able to repair or get parts or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Same with WT.
Yeah, you know how much I love math, Mark. At $1,300 a week, that's $67,600 a year if we had to keep renting that, which seems a little
We
silly.
rented it last year.
So on that Cat, are we able to get a trade-in offer on?
We don't
We don't
have a
have
trade.
Oh,
We don't have a
this is the
mini
mini.
X. The only mini X that we have in the city is water and sewer. And they were sharing it for a while, but water and
So this is
sewer-
in addition to James's question.
James, I think James is going to trade his old one in for a new model. So
Okay, so where does the money come from, Mark?
we have it in our fixed assets in your
Okay.
budget for 120,000.
Awesome. I will say, I don't know, I couldn't run a mini X if I had to, but just doing a little research on the highly rated ones, this one did come highly rated. So, and I do like the fact that they're just up the road. Probably good with service. Thank you, Mr. Lay.
One little touch on this that I would say the last bid, number 5 from United Rentals, that's a new, and I would say it's new, just kind of looking at this machinery. It's kind of a newer brand that's coming online, and it's kind of being the hot ticket because it's cheaper. United Rentals does do the repairs and stuff in their shop, so you're not going against what I'm seeing in the construction realm. Everybody's giving them a chance. They seem to be doing fine. I've got a buddy that he's a plumber, and he's got a Bobcat and one of these mini X's, and he says he likes it. He doesn't see any kind of compromise from a rigs. um, equipment standards, but at the same time, rigs has been around for a long time. They're probably going to be around for a long time too. So I can kind of see both ends of the aspect. If you wanted to get the best bang for your buck versus getting something that's got some, I don't know, some provability. It's been tested in the market and has, you know, a name for itself. So
And that extra 3 weeks of renting,
Yeah.
I love the thought. But
I
yeah,
knew you were coming.
yeah,
That's
you
good.
knew that,
I'm
okay.
glad you
I mean,
did.
it's $3,900 to wait
Yeah.
3 weeks, right? So that digs into the, you know, $11,238 of savings.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there to food for thought.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
What do you guys
I
want,
was
Mr.
kind of
Latham?
along the same lines. I know I can't, I'm kind of like Mike. If you put me on that piece of equipment, it won't move. But, maybe backwards,
That would be
but,
fine.
So with that, I'll make a motion that we select the rigs cap.
okay.
I'll
and move
second
that to
that.
council.
Yeah, thank you. I'll second that.
All right. Roll call.
Misty,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Tim,
Sorry.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Did you forget you made
Good
the
with the
motion?
city.
I didn't forget the motion. I just forgot my name.
Next, we have a discussion for a contract with a CPA firm, Landmark, for auditing services. Mayor, Mr. Latham.
I think it was the direction of the council that we advertise for statements of qualifications for a CTA firm to conduct audit and services for the city. We only actually received one, which is Landmark, who's very well known around this, does several cities along with a lot of utilities. They submitted their statements of qualifications. Staff conducted a meeting with Chris Cluck of Landmark to discuss a 3-year contract to complete the audits. I hate to have 1-year contracts because they kind of move through the cycle. And including water and sewer. I don't know, is Chris here tonight? Chris is here tonight to answer any of your questions. And so you have a copy of actual quotes that he had given you for 3 years.
Do you want to start before we start peppering you with questions?
No, I mean, I met with the mayor and the staff, and I feel like I answered all their questions at that time, and I'm here to answer your guys' questions, so feel free to.
Thank you. Is there anything in particular that you'd like us to know before we get into that?
I kind of detail it at the bottom there, you know, this is, you know, the high end of what I anticipate the audit could potentially cost. I'm not saying it would cost that much, but based on other cities and the work we do around the state, we're one of the largest locally owned firms here in Arkansas. We do a lot of municipalities, a lot of water and sewer districts.
You have a great reputation.
And so I'm basing it off that history of how many hours we're going to need to perform the audit. Currently, the city doesn't have an audit. Legislative audit does some work, but it's not an audit. And so what the one thing with an audit is there's certain procedures have to be done dictated by state law. And also if you get federal funds, there's certain things we have to do there as well. I kind of broke it down between not only the city departments, but the water and sewer department, and if you also required a single audit. If you do not require a single audit, that piece of the bid will not be charged to you. So certain years you may have a single audit, certain years you may not. So I wanted to kind of break that out separately just in case I'm not going to charge you them if I don't do the single audit kind of deal. And then if the time we have in it is less, we'll bill you the lower amount. So this is basically the high end of, this is the most we're going to
Guaranteed.
bill you.
You're not Black Hills.
Correct. Now,
This message has been brought to you by Trader Joe's and Sprouts.
so
Thanks, Larry.
I will say that if the council asks us to perform work outside of the scope of our audit, that would be something we would negotiate separately.
Okay, so I misunderstood something along the line. I thought you were helping us with our financial books, you're not doing an audit, you're prepping for the audit. Is that correct?
No, we're performing the audit.
Okay, so if you're performing the audit, you certainly can't do our financials
Correct.
since you are doing the audit.
Because we're not independent. We can advise and give suggestions to your staff, things along those lines, but we cannot make management decisions for you.
Well, I think it's a good idea to have an audit, but who helps us with our financials before that audit? Or do we put this particular cart before this particular horse and find what's wrong and then go back and fix it? That's a question for you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry. Actually, Mr. Latham is the one that brought this forward.
Okay, Mark, can you answer that question?
Answer, what would you like?
Well, I appreciate that they're doing an audit. I think that we do need an audit, but are we getting help before the audit to help us with our financials? Or are we doing the audit to see all the things that are wrong and then hiring somebody to help fix those particular concerns?
I wasn't aware that we were needing that, but if that's what you guys want, we can do that, yeah. And maybe they can suggest somebody to do that.
Okay. I think I have misunderstood where we were going with this.
You're not alone, Tim. I kind of thought we were looking at possibly hiring a CPA position in some fashion.
You agree,
Yeah,
Councilmember
I
Montes?
kind of
Okay.
thought that as well.
Okay.
But I also thought something about the audit as well. I thought it was like a two-parter.
Yeah, I did too, until I realized that the firm doing the audit can't also help with the finances because that wouldn't be ethical, right?
Right.
Well, not really, not an ethics issue.
Okay,
If we're going to perform the audit, we have to be in,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
so we can't.
Totally makes sense. Absolutely.
Danny, you had something,
It's a
didn't you?
it's a matter of ethics. It's not.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I have to go through a contractor's licensing audit annually, and my CPA cannot perform that. I have to go outside and get another CPA firm to do that. So that's definitely a conflict that I see coming up. I've used Landmark in the past when it was Beal and Barclay back in the day. So I kind of know a lot about your firm and how y'all operate, and love the way you guys operate. So I too was, I guess, under the wrong impression. And Mr. Latham, I had sent you an email to ask Landmark if we were going to get those services where they come in and actually help us get our books aligned, or if this is solely for that audit. It looks like that's in fact the case, that we're just looking at the audit standpoint. If we were going to do that, I'd almost rather, kind of like Mr. Burris had said, not put the cart before the horse. I think we should look at getting a firm that we can have help us internally, and then at worst case scenario, continue to let the state legislature do the audit, or at least go, if we don't want to do that, redirect that to another firm to perform the audit.
Well, the state audit, whatever it costs, comes off of your money that you get.
Mhm. Back.
With,
Yeah.
kind of a wash.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Is it a substantially different cost?
I need, if that's what the council wants to need, please put it in writing, so what you actually want. What do you want? Somebody to come in and just take a look at your books, or what, it's going to take somebody with some experience on the municipal side of things. It's
Sure.
not-
Yeah, totally understand. And yeah, I mean, it seems that at least three of us thought that that's what we were talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides of this are great. It's not that I want one and not the other. I would like both. So can Landmark be part of that process? Again, they've got a great reputation. I wouldn't want to not work with Landmark if we have the opportunity. But I wasn't privy to the email that Councilmember Montez sent you. I don't know if he was asking for
Well, I
something.
think he
more
was
about that.
asking about the accounts, different, list of accounts, talking about, I think we ran into some problems last year, that there was a whole bunch of, everything was pushed into a contract
Right,
account.
yes.
And so having somebody come and take a look at that actual list of accounts
Okay.
and making sure that we're covering everything. I mean, we do have some, frustration sometimes from the standpoint just of the street department. I mean, we have one item that says street improvements. Well, that should have something like, you know, it does separate the engineering, but it doesn't say anything about buying right away. It doesn't say about, you know, appraisals like we just did for, you know, it needs to have a little better itemization on a lot of things. Drainage improvements, Penalto drainage came out of the street improvements. I mean, that's the only place it could come out of. So, I mean, yeah, is that what you want? Somebody to actually look at your accounts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I understand you correctly when you said you would be available for consultation or whatever?
I'll clarify. We cannot buy. So obviously, I
Thank
think
you,
one of the
Mr. Lee.
issues is related to maybe expanding your charter accounts to give you more detail. We can advise on that process, but management and the council need to take ownership of that. It is just an advisory role, and that will not affect our independence as it relates to doing the audit.
Okay.
We can make suggestions on what other cities and municipalities do and present that to you guys. Same thing with internal controls. We can make suggestions to you on how you could change your internal controls to maybe strengthen it and protect your employees and protect the city, but we can't implement those for you.
Okay.
So there's a fine line.
Are there
on
firms that
advisory
can do that?
versus- I'm sorry?
Are there firms that can do that? And is that something that you could do? Like you put on a different hat, you take off your current
I
hat?
mean, as part of the audit, we're going to advise you on best practices.
I guess here's what I'm asking. What if you don't do the audit and instead you're helping us with our books? So it's not just an advisory role, you're actually
We could do that.
counting
I
beans.
guess my question is, are there problems with the books that you need outside assistance with, or is it just more of needing some advisory on best practices on how to structure? I mean,
I don't
are
know.
we not reconciling the bank accounts or reconciling the accounts? I'm assuming you guys are.
I would assume that we are.
And currently, I know the legislative audit is not performing an audit for the city. They are doing some procedures, but it's not an audit.
It sounds like your advisement on doesn't create a conflict. And I wanted to ask you about this one statement. Landmark believes it will be beneficial to perform interim work in the areas of documentation of controls, including walkthroughs and gathering information. That sounds like that piece that you're talking about, giving advice to the city on what they should do.
Correct. We have to get an understanding of the control environment the city has in place in order to design our audit procedures appropriately. So we're going to look at the procedures you guys have in place. We're going to, if we feel like there's a area that needs to be strengthened, we're going to advise on options maybe to strengthen that area. But the ultimate decision, the management's decision on how they approach that. But we're going to bring suggestions to you. That will not affect our independence, but we just can't say, okay, you need to do this and make the decision for you.
Well, that sounds kind of like what the expectations are of what I'm hearing. And it sounds like something that, and your audit won't be performed for another year anyway, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So
It'd be for the 2026 year end, would include the water and sewer department. I believe you will have enough federal funds to require.
okay. So if the questions, if I'm off base on what it sounds like people are expecting out of you, let's say you get the questions and you say, if I do these things, it creates a conflict. I assume you let us know that and give us advice on, okay, to get this question answered or these questions answered, here's who you need to talk to.
Yes, I can
Okay.
make a suggestion along. In most cases, there shouldn't be an independence issue unless we're suggesting journal entries, things along those lines, and posting them into your system. And we're making management decisions and actions. That's where independence comes into play. We can provide suggestions, and you guys can then.
It sounds like a
Make the
fine
decision.
line there, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's a really close,
And
close
and
line.
We watch that line very closely.
Yeah.
because, that is one of the
Okay.
important things.
Well, I'm satisfied with that. I think that helps a lot. Thank you.
And in our initial meeting, they did ask us about the chart of accounts advising on that, and I just misunderstood, I guess, the question about.
And I apologize. I was supposed to be there, but I was in lovely Forest City, Arkansas, packing up my mother's house. So that was why I missed that meeting, and I apologize for missing that meeting.
One of the things you mentioned is the interim work. What I kind of provided a little timeline on when we would do certain works. That interim work would be done in order not to overwhelm the city's employees and try to do all the procedures in 1 or 2 weeks. We kind of spread it out a little bit. And so that interim work is done prior to the end of the year as it relates to getting understanding your controls and who does what and things along those lines. And then we then work with management to schedule when is a good time for the audit. We would, as it relates to the water sewer department, we would have to do a year-end observation of things that are in inventory, make sure that it's accurate at year-end. So we would do some of the work. That way it's not such a burden on the city's employees when we come out and do the audit and things like that. So it's kind of broken down in different sections here. And the time and the commitment as it relates to the different level of staff. We're not just bringing a first-year staff out here to do your audit. We got some experience. I've been with the firm for 21 years. I do municipality audits and water and sewer departments. That's what I do.
Right.
You know, we do several cities up here in Northwest Arkansas. And
So is there a detailed scope of work that you have provided?
it's just this timeline here.
Just the timeline, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
All
as it relates to the procedures, I didn't list that
Okay.
out. It's
All right.
pretty voluminous, and I didn't want to bore
can
you with some of
imagine.
those details. I mean,
Well,
we just have to comply with state laws and, you know, as it relates to the grants.
Sure,
and
yes,
things
sir.
like that, so.
thank you. I appreciate it.
But a lot of it is confirming year-end balances, making sure everything's reported accurately, analytical inquiries of management and city attorney and things along those.
Have questions been answered sufficiently
Anyone?
for
Yeah.
the rest
Anyone
of you guys?
have
or
anything else?
Do you need to submit other questions in writing to?
I'll be submitting some questions to Mark.
Okay.
In writing to clarify more of what I was looking for. I think this is only part of part A, the part A and B of what I was thinking we were going to be moving forward with.
Okay.
Can you share that with us either by email before, if that's allowed, or at the next cow or
It's
something?
allowed as long as we don't comment on it.
Right. Okay, thank you so
I'll
much.
follow protocol, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Councilmember.
Thank you ever so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Next, we are going to have a 5-minute break.
Now, we've used Craft and Tull, who's basically been identifying under a plan that was put to place, I think, in either 2019 or 2020 called First Step. And what we're finding out is with that program, and I'll just give you a perspective on this and why we had to do that change order down there at Kelly and Dow. Originally, when the bid went out to look at doing some work down on Dow and Kelly, it was to be crack sealing and some fog seal. And what we found out is that the breakdown of those heavy trucks on that required us to do the change order that you all approved, I think last month with APEC. So I asked Craft and Tull to put together a contract to reevaluate all the road conditions on all of our streets and produce a report that includes any kind of undersizing of culvert crossings. As you know, anytime that it's great that you have money to try to overlay streets, and then all of a sudden, 3 years later, you find out you've got to cut the street because you need to size up the culvert, and we have plenty of those places right now. So the contract is, actually the cost is $19,500 with a maximum reimbursements of $500, which would be roughly $20,000. I think this is very much needed. Right now, the cost just to do a mile of overlay on streets right now is about $1.6 million. So as we utilize our very limited money that we have targeted for street improvements, which amounts to about $400,000 to $500,000, we're going to have to use them very wisely. So that's what I've got, unless anybody's got any questions.
Questions, anyone?
Just, that's the all-in price.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the only thing I need.
Our streets are changing, as you know. I mean, Brad mentioned about traffic flow and how things are going. With that study that was done in 2020, seemed to be a little bit outdated. I know that we had we're still waiting for RDOT to kind of ask us what the contract's going to help us with some of the streets that were used by very large concrete trucks and rock trucks and everything else that ran through Javello and Liberty and you name it. They were piling all kinds of rock in there, but we haven't got any damage reports on that yet. Hopefully we'll get that pretty soon. But there are some streets that deemed as being fair and now probably are in poor condition, very similar to what we saw with Dahl and Kelly. So that's my recommendation, that we move forward on that.
Anyone?
I have no further questions or comments.
I'd make a motion that we move this to city council.
Second that.
Roll call.
Jim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
moving to city.
Next, we have a discussion of a resolution establishing the process for nomination and appointment to fill the vacancy of City Council Alderman, Ward 1, Position 1. Danny?
Yes, drafted this resolution in light of the recent events to kind of help establish some kind of procedure for filling the vacancy. If you look at section 1, 2, I guess all sections, sections 1 through 6, kind of goes through opening the nominations here by City Council and going addressing those and having them come before us and taking a role there, and then also going over the appointee shall take the office is the last remaining part of that. So I feel like this would help us get this ball rolling and get that seat filled.
As someone that has went through this, when Henry's position came open, there wasn't a good process, so I do think we need one in place. The only thing I have questions on is section 1. What they've done in the past and what we've done now is we've opened up applications and they come forward kind of like planning does. I don't know that I think we need to be nominating by us. I think they come forward like they've been doing. The rest of it makes sense to me.
Well, I think either way, and I agree with you, but I think either way, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think whoever's interested comes and still addresses the council like we've always done, which isn't, I mean, there doesn't seem to be state law around that. So if we can put our own spin on that, let's do it. But then once we make that determination, just like we've always done, when there's an appointment, whether it be for planning commission or filling a vacant seat on the council, we have to come back into this room. Somebody makes a nomination, somebody has to second that nomination, and then we vote on it.
So that's but wouldn't that be, I mean, wouldn't section, maybe then it's out of order because.
How so?
Like
I'm sorry.
section 2 should be nominee meet all the requirements, nominee give an opportunity to council, and then
Yeah.
nominate. So almost like number 1 needs to be like number 3 and move the other 2 up so that it's in the right order.
Well, and I mean, and that's if we want to keep it the way it is. I don't know that I mentioned this at the last meeting, but I did mention that it isn't, that there are certain ways that this has to be done. I know that because when Mr. Granata passed away and I was ultimately put in the role to fill in for him, it went months. He passed away at the end of August. I wasn't put into this position until October 20. And so, I mean, the law was very definitely broken
Right.
in the midst of that. And so we do have to have some of that in place. And I know there's been a little bit of back and forth on what's a regular meeting, what's not a regular meeting, et cetera. But I don't necessarily mind what this looks like. And at first I thought this was unnecessary, but the truth is it's also nebulous. Councilor Farrar and I were speaking earlier today about some of this. It's just so nebulous that to try to put anything on it, to just say this is the way that we're going to do it, and we can change it later or whatever if we have to. I'm okay with that. But I think this is yours, right, Councilmember Montez?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay with moving section 1 to another place? Or are you married to the order?
No, I don't think I'm married to the order. I don't, yeah, I'm amenable to moving section 1 to section 3 and moving 2 and 3 up to 1 and 2.
Okay. Under 6, I think we might want to say the appointee shall take the oath of office immediately instead of prior to assuming duties, because
It'd be the same though.
well, it could be or it could not be, right? I mean, every now and then we have to dash off to something, and I think the mayor does that oath, right?
Yeah, and I think Amber sat up here immediately the same night. She came up here as soon as y'all appointed her.
That's right, and I believe I did as well, and I believe Penny Baskin did as well, and those are the 3 that I can think of that have happened in the last 6 years, right?
But we did go in executive session, so does that need to be part of this, Tyler?
Doesn't it have to be? Can be if you
Make sure
want
we're
to.
putting the process in place.
Well, I think
fully.
like has already been discussed, right? You don't have to have this. The law is pretty clear that the process is that you guys have to meet and by majority vote appoint someone. How that looks is up to you. I'd have to refresh my recollection about the executive session rules, but I believe that would qualify. Don't hold me to that. But you could, if that's something you think you need to.
I like the idea of the process. I think it's always good to have a process in place, and it did feel kind of
That's fine.
a lot of questions when that Henry C came up and like, what do we do?
A
How do we
little
do it?
wonky, right? Yeah.
Right.
I would ask though, does this document help that? Because this is just kind of a list of things that, like, this isn't really a process, right?
I think it does, because
Okay.
anyone that wants to come forward and run for a council seat, that helps answer a lot of questions for them.
Well, and now that you've called on me to answer, I don't think that these have to be in any particular order, right? These are just things that you've said, checklists. I don't know that reordering them makes a whole lot of sense, but you guys can do whatever you want. I think it's good, but, don't lock yourself into anything too. You by the next regular session, you have to appoint someone, so keep that in mind. Don't write rules that make it hard to do that.
Yeah, fair point.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is just the first time I've had a resignation that, we've got to do this. I wasn't a part for Amber, Miss Baskin or any of that. So trying to figure out how to navigate this has been intriguing. So wanted to try and, at least discuss it amongst us and see how we're doing this and what we're going to do. I mean, we've had a lot of talk about, does a special meeting count as a regular meeting? Does the cow count as a special meeting? So we've had a lot of discussion over this, and like I said, this is the first rodeo for me. I'm figuring out how that goes. So.
On first look, I was kind of the same way, that I thought it was out of order, but after listening, I think it's perfectly fine the way it is.
I'm glad to hear, y'all's point of views on it, and I mean, I'm totally amenable to moving them around, but I kind of saw it like the same way as it's a checks and balances.
Yeah.
These are the guidelines we're looking to look at,
Yeah.
not in a particular order, but at least these guidelines are what are helping us get through this process. So, but if it makes it amenable, I'm totally okay with moving them.
I understand that in executive session, it has no voting power. We can't vote back there, but it does give us an opportunity to speak privately, which I think does help. So is that something that we should add to this list, or is it outside of the list?
I think that would be outside, in my opinion. I think that would be outside of the list because we can call you can call executive session
At any point in
anytime.
time. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just brought it up because that's what they did when that seat was open and I was trying for that one. So I just want to make sure, but I love that we're doing a process. I think it's much needed.
Can I weigh in now?
Yes,
Please. Yeah, you're correct. I agree with what the mayor just said. Executive session may be used only for the purposes of appointment, to any public officer. So yeah, that's appropriate, but back to the question, I wouldn't put that in there when you can already exercise that right under the law, right? So let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Nope. Totally just throwing everything out there so we talk about all the options.
Gotcha.
I guess one issue that I have is whether, I mean, we get letters of intent for planning commission. The letter that was, I mean, appointing a new council member's wholly under the purview of the city council. And this application was posted on the website without any mention to city council that it was going. I don't have a problem with it. I just wish we'd have been advised of it. I don't think anybody's trying to supersede the authority of council, but you know, it would have been nice to say, hey, this is our thought process. What do you guys think about it? And I don't think anybody would have objected to it, but anyway, I guess that's another issue. I don't even know if it needs to be put in here. I don't know if we want to solidify that with language, or if we're just going to assume that when an opening like this occur again for whatever reason, that we'll put it out for advertisement like any other open position. So
That's
what's
kind
your
of what
thoughts?
Yeah, that's kind of true too. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about that, but
I mean, I kind of expected it to come out just because that's how it went when I applied for, but I mean, it could be added. I mean, just what's our, finishing out the process.
I mean, I
what it
don't
looks
care. I don't care if we get letters of intent. It doesn't make one iota of difference to me how we do it. So, I mean, if people want to, you know, because a lot of times they're not watching the meetings. They may not know that
right.
somebody resigned. And so I get putting it out there. That's okay. But is that, if there's something we're going to do, if we're going to do this, go to this measure, even though, you know, state law kind of prescribes how the positions are filled. I understand why you're doing this. Do you want to put that language in there?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm amenable to putting that in there
Okay.
if you want. I mean,
It's your resolution, so.
Your perspective on, you know, the current situation where we're at. Do you feel like that application that went out should be the only nominations
No.
acknowledged, or are
No.
you thinking
I
anybody
don't-
could
I-
send
no,
one of those?
I'm sorry, I'm
Sorry.
stepping over you.
My question is, do you think that those ones are the only ones we acknowledge, or do we acknowledge any and every nomination that may come, whether it's a letter of intent or
I
that
think it's
application?
Any and every.
Okay.
I mean, I think we
Yeah,
have to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I
As
think
long as they meet the other qualifications, I
Right.
mean, yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
So
You set yourself up for some trouble if you don't.
we can definitely just add that into one of those sections,
Okay.
or make another section and section, I'm sorry, and put that in there, to include, you know,
Letters of intent.
throwing out advertisement for letters of intent.
Okay.
I definitely think that would be good to have in there.
All right. So you want to add that as 7?
7.
That works.
And then what would that letter of intent look like? I think the one that's online, I mean, again, I totally understand it. I'm with Mike on that. But, I mean, it's, what's your name? Or, you know, and then a few lines to say, you know, why are you interested? I don't know. I mean, do we want to, I'm trying not to make government more cumbersome, but do we want that to be a little more or not?
The only thing you probably want to add, you might want to make sure that they're qualified electors of the city they live in. They
It
live
does
in the
ask
ward.
that, but I don't
It
know
does,
that they would
okay. I didn't even look
necessarily
at that.
know what that means.
You
It's
know.
full name, residential address, phone number, email, and then eligibility, initial each, registered voter in Tontitown, resident of Ward 1, eligible to hold office. And I think, if I understand correctly, one of the people that said they were interested wasn't qualified because of one of those things. Is that correct?
That is correct. They were in the wrong ward.
That has occurred on several occasions, so.
Mhm.
That's understandable too.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, I don't know.
Well, may I?
Go.
Whenever that was put out, I was asked if that should be put out for other people to be able to know that we had another council member we had a council member that had stepped down. And I was just doing the process like we had done for planning. So I was trying to do this, I was trying to be consistent.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing, I mean, again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but we didn't know about it. We happened to, talk when I was up here on Friday. So, there were some people, right? Okay, who are those people? But if we're collecting names and we don't know who they are, I know that in the past, somebody says, hey, I'm interested, and then an email goes out to all of us to say, this person is interested.
Right, and
That's what
it
comes,
would,
and this person is interested.
right, and it would whenever we were going to wait until we got everything collected and then send it.
Right, no,
So-
I understand, but my point is like, in the past, it's like, here's one, hey, here's another one, hey, here's another one, and then at the end, hey, these were all the people. It would just be I mean, I would just rather have those names earlier rather than later, like, oh my goodness, we're not gonna have anybody, is the governor gonna have to appoint somebody because we don't have anybody, that
That
sort
would
of
be
thing.
terrible. But yeah, Mike, you had a question?
Oh, no. I'd just say, had this occurred a year ago, I'd probably push for an election just to fill.
Right.
But,
Tyler, would you like to
since
weigh in
there's
on
only
that, about an election?
Yes, so under the law, you do not have to have an election. You have the choice to appoint someone or vote for a special election, but you have the option. Right, so not required.
And that option is only when is it over a year left?
So the state law changed last year. I think it's 1442-411 was amended to remove that 1-year requirement.
Okay,
So
so
no,
either way, we can do it either way?
don't have to worry about 1 year less
Okay.
or more anymore.
Yeah, so the old way, and I must have somehow found that, was that if it's less than a year, you don't even have the option of an election, and if it's longer than a year.
That's what I've been told, but I've never looked at that law when it was written in that way. It's only been written in a different way since I've been reviewing
Okay,
it, but yeah, I've been told that.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you checking on that.
So I got one more point to make. Mr. Bursch had brought up, the, I guess, notification of nominees that have been submitted to the city. Would you, Mr. Bursch, would like to see that within these sections, maybe somewhere where, I'm looking at the section right now, what it's called nominee, section 3, but we're going to change it to number 2. It says nominations may be given the opportunity to address council. You could add a comma there or something, or to one of these, where, daily city staff shall notify council of candidates or nominees that have submitted a application.
I'm trying not to make it harder. I really am trying not to make it harder, but I think it's easier. It shows up, we push it. It shows up, we push it. I don't know that it has to be listed somewhere, but otherwise it just feels like the city is taking a collection of names, and if we knew those existed, I mean,
Right.
again, I don't know how it was with Amber. I do remember what it was like when I went through the process, and right away, this is my letter of intent. Everybody got my letter of intent.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, to this day, I haven't received any inkling of who these, like you just said, somebody was out of the ward. I don't even know of those applications that have been submitted yet. I didn't have an opportunity to come up here and kind of look into that, but
Well, we can probably get those, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could provide those by email to us, that would be super.
Okay. Are we going to approve this resolution as written then?
Did anything change?
yeah,
There are,
a little bit. I'd like to make a motion to approve this with changes to sections 1, 2, and 3 be reordered so that section 1 is number 3, section 2 is number 1, section 3 is number 2. We add section 7 to advertise for letters of intent to fill vacancy upon the City Council of Tontitown, Arkansas. And I also amend section 6, where the appointee shall take the oath of office prior to assuming duties, comma, immediately. And I think that is all. We took out the executive session, so I think I'll leave that.
I'll second that.
May I ask one quick question to Mr. Farrar? Should we include the language of letters of intent? Does that preclude us from doing an election?
That's a great question.
Put a clause where it's, unless there's an
It
election.
doesn't preclude you, but again, remember, at the 19th meeting, you have to do something. So we're spending all of our time passing a resolution to talk about what we're going to do, but by the next meeting, you need to do that thing.
Yes.
So I don't know
I get
that, if you pass this at the next meeting, it's already too late. You should have done that.
I'm talking about for future. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
for this upcoming. I'm talking about 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, we get the same situation. If you
Okay,
can put that.
and maybe
language in.
that's my fault because I thought this was a resolution specifically to address the immediate vacancy. Are you trying to make this for all time?
Well, this says just to fill a vacancy. It doesn't, it doesn't say, it
Well,
doesn't put,
whereas number 1 says a vacancy exists on the Tontitown City
well,
Council.
that's gonna happen anytime we advertise for,
Anytime a
Say
vacancy
and.
exists.
Well, several vacancies could exist technically, but
They
yeah, I see
could,
what you're
yes.
saying. But I thought this was a Band-Aid, so I apologize if I misunderstood.
No, I think I'm trying to help set up future councils to where
Yeah, okay.
they've got something that they can rely on that's enforceable, that
Okay.
gives them a guideline of how to proceed with this.
Counselor, would you feel better
Um,
if it said whereas when a vacancy exists?
Yeah.
Would, yes.
I'll make that.
And then also in section 6, I would say the appointee immediately shall take the oath of office rather than the way it was
Okay.
suggested to be
Okay,
phrased.
that's fine.
I like that as well.
And
I don't think it would preclude us from
It,
choosing.
it won't
to-
preclude you because what we'll
hold
say
an
is
election.
we may use a LOI. We'll give permissive language in there, so
Mhm.
you don't have to.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. And up at the top, your whereas.
Yeah, I think the suggested.
Very
thought was
first sentence,
when a
whereas when a
vacancy
vacancy
exists.
When
exists.
okay. Yep, I agree with all those amendments.
Or
Um,
should a vacancy exist, whatever verbiage you guys think.
And I continue my
When is
second.
fine.
And
I believe we've had a first and a second. So roll call?
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
yes,
Misty,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes.
moving to city.
Next, we have a discussion of an engineering contract for third-party reviews. Mr. Latham.
Yeah, I'm bringing this to you based on the fact that, as you know, Zach is our city engineer, so any subdivision, LSDs or anything that come through, he actually is the one that does a review. Since his firm's now kind of expansion, there's a couple of reviews that will need done by a third party that he can't do. It's his work. One of them is the police station. He's the civil on the police station. So I looked through, we got several annual statements of qualifications. And I talked with ISG, who's a good firm. Very, very competitive on their reviews, although any of those reviews, third-party reviews, are going to be paid by the contractor, not by the city. Those things are basically paid, just like he came in for a subdivision, Zach's time that he reviews it and makes a report, planning commission, that developer has to pay for that, his review time. So we'd like to move on with this, since there will be several that will be coming in, I believe, based on Zach's company right now. And so I'm presenting this to you.
so it's a per job. It's not something, we're not paying them a retainer for.
You're only going to be paying anytime we use them. It's an
And
all
sounds like the-
on-call service.
And it sounds like the contractor
Right.
pays the cost anyway. So, any further questions?
And I think you saw the fee that they were
Fair.
stating.
I thought they were fair.
They're very competitive.
so I got a question on, I mean, I like it, I'm all for it. But do we need to send this out for statements of qualifications? Being it's a professional service?
We sent statements of qualifications out in January.
like a
So
blanket.
well, James and I, I mean, they're coming in there like bees.
Okay.
I
So
think
we're
I
covered.
have 12 right now that sent in statements of qualifications. So,
Perfect. So
okay.
we're covered. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'd like to make a motion to move this to city council.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Daniel,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Moving to city.
Next, we have a discussion of a proposed ordinance establishing the mayor as a full-time position with benefits. Misty.
So this is something that I've been working on for a while, since this will be my second term. Previous mayors in the past have been part-time, and as a small city under 5,000 people, that made sense. But as we've grown to 10,000 plus and continuing to grow, and seeing as Mayor Russell has been here in the building more than previous mayors, we've shown that it's needed and necessary. And this I talked to Municipal League when I was there in January, and this is the time to make that before packets go out in May, to go on the ballot for the election, for people to know what we're looking for and what the expectations will be. I think we need someone in the seat full-time so that decisions can be made on a regular basis in-house. So I'm updating this to a full-time position with benefits, because they'll be looking to move from their job to be, their job would be our mayor, versus owning their own company and coming here part-time like we've seen with the previous two mayors, Intrum and Paul Colvin. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have.
How would this affect, when would this take effect?
January 1st with the
Okay.
election.
So it wouldn't interfere with our budget for this year?
No, this is going forward. That's what the law says we need to do with the election, and I wanted to make sure to get it in before people signing up to run, so the expectations would be out there and people would know what to expect.
And as a mayor can probably tell you, full-time doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be somebody occupying that chair on a daily basis, because
They go all over. They have to go to Little Rock, like being able
Exactly.
to fully function and run the day-to-day expectations as a mayor of Tontitown.
yeah, okay.
There's just a couple of tweaks I'd like to
Yeah.
make to it. Most of it's, I've got no problem with making this full-time position. But under H, introduce ordinances and resolutions and recommend policies to the city council as permitted by ordinance or council rules. I'd like to add to that, provided the mayor has a sponsoring member of the city council to introduce such legislation on his or her behalf. My point behind that is, and reasoning behind that is, the president of the United States can't even introduce legislation. He or she has to have a sponsoring member of the House of Representatives or the Senate to introduce legislation. So the president, the executive cannot unilaterally introduce legislation. That's the role of council. So I don't mind that. If we add that language, I would like to add that language. Otherwise, I probably would have to be a no vote. Second one. Yes, the language, the specific language I would like to add, and it can be tweaked. I just kind of wrote this to the end of this. Provided that the mayor has a sponsoring member of city council to introduce it on his or her behalf, the it being the ordinances, resolutions, or policies. Yes, ma'am. And then on I didn't see anything on override of veto in our code, unless I've missed it, and that's possible. So section I says exercise veto power over any ordinance, resolution, order, or motion of the city council in whole or in part as provided by law. Vetoes are this is my language that I would like to add. Vetoes are subject to override by 2/3 vote of the city council. Again, I think that falls in line with federal. veto powers and override authority. So unless I'm wrong on the override, if it's in there, I mean, there's scant things on what the city council can do. So, and then section 4, the salary. I'm not saying it's not deserving of that type of money. However, there are a few cities that are comparable in size. You know, Farmington, 72,000, Gentry, 77,000, Prairie Grove, 74,000, Cave City, 75,000. Obviously, Centerton, Springdale pay a lot more. One thing that council cannot do, should we approve this salary, council cannot reduce the salary during the term of the mayor. So let's say we can't prescribe what hours that the mayor has to be in his or her office. We can't say, oh, by the way, Mayor, we expect you to darken the doors from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Let's just assume that some scofflaw comes in here and shows up one day a week because they're running a full-time business somewhere else, but we're paying them $100,000. We can't take that away from them. The only way that you can reduce their salary is if they come and ask to have their salary reduced. So I would, with the changes that I'm suggesting, and you all don't have to agree with them, obviously, those changes, and I would go to 80,000 with the benefits.
Well,
I think it
actually
falls
was
in line.
expecting, I just kind of started with.
Sure.
Because if the raises were in place like it should be with cost of living and what the ordinance says now, it would be 72. And then asking them to step away from their full-time job to become our full, I kind of landed in between the bigger cities. And so this
Right.
this is what I put in here as a starting ground. I was expecting this. Does that make sense? For us to
Absolutely,
discuss and
yes.
decide where we need to
Well, I
land.
mean, that's the point of having a discussion about this, I think. So I would, just those 3 changes, and some others may have other changes as well, but I would shoot for 80. And plus, going to 100 from, I think, I don't know, it's 60 now. So
70, well, with what
I-
should have been the ordinance
I don't know.
raises, it should have been 72 when I talked to Pat.
should have been, but
Yeah, we
is
haven't been
not.
giving,
So
Yeah.
it's around 60, so that's about a 60% increase from what it is currently
I was
to
going with what it
100,000.
was supposed to be.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that explanation. And thank you for your work on this, by the way. Everything else, like, it's, I'm amenable with.
So the number you said 80 or 72?
I said
or-
80.
He said 80.
And I'm not sure that we should, as a council, set it. Of course, if we wait for the next council, then that will put us into January, put the council into January to approve a budget, so.
Well, and Tyler and I talked about this,
Check.
like, do we put the money in here or not? And this was what was recommended.
Okay.
Technically, Mr. Artemano, you have till February. to
I
approve
understand
the
that,
budget,
but still.
Yeah.
You know, you compile a budget and you put in, you insert numbers and we're putting in question marks for the mayor's salary, so.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't necessarily mind the idea. In fact, we've talked about this before. I think the timing is a little off. Anytime we raise a mayor's salary, we can't come back down again. And Tontitown is in a position, I wholeheartedly supported Angie when she was running, in large part because she understood that it's a full-time job, right? It's a full-time environment. I didn't know then what I know now that Mike has said it, that we can't say, hey, you have to be here at these times. I think the way that the law is written, or the way that it's stated, is that the office has to be open from X to whatever, right? But frankly, Angie, if you show up for 10 minutes a day and everything gets done, who cares? But when we're jumping this much in salary, I'm not even saying that it's not needed, but it's going to draw in some people who are going to run for a role and potentially win, who have zero experience, zero qualification, zero ability to do anything except collect a paycheck, potentially, right? And from what I think I understand, and I could be wrong, there were 6 people on this council on January 1st, and from what I understand, at least 2 of those people have said, I don't want to be back on the council next January 1st. And at least one of those other people will probably be challenged and may or may not win that. So I think it's fair to assume that 3 or less of the 6 who started this year will be on council again next year. And since that election is in November, those people obviously don't have voting power until January, but we do have the ability to include them in budget discussions toward the end of the year to some extent, right? I mean, they can come to the mic and share their opinion, and they're sharing their opinion as somebody who's going to be taking over in January. So I like that the dates are January 1st. Don't have a problem with that. I don't necessarily mind that we're raising the salary, although I think we need to be careful how we do that and when we do that, where we do that, et cetera. But I would really love those people to be a little more a part of it. And so there's that. And then the last piece is sort of the elephant in the room, in that, Amber was here 2 weeks ago, now she's not. So there's somebody who's going to be on this council, and we're sort of down a man. We don't know who that person is. Down a person. And we don't know who that person is. And I would, at the very least, like that person to be a part of the decision-making process, which, technically could be rectified at the next meeting. But I do have some concerns only about the timing. And I would rather table it a little further down the year. Still, yes, I think it should be handled before the end of the year. But I like where you're going. I like what you're doing. I like so much of it. I think we're a few months off.
People are grabbing their packets now. They need to know what we're expecting for them in January 1st. That is the timing. That is why it's now.
So do you think that there are people who?
The people that are going on the ballot need to know we want them here full time. That's why it's now. The packets are fixing to go out. We get the signatures. We turned in.
But how do we mandate that full-time thing?
That's what this is.
No, I know, but I don't, based on what Mike said, I don't think that we can mandate a full-time role.
Well, based on what we looked at legally.
Am I misunderstanding what you said, Mike?
Hold on a second. I don't think we can set their hours.
That's
correct. We can't say you must be here, you must clock in at 8, and you must clock out by 5.
Which is not
But
what
I
I'm
think
asking.
we can, maybe Mr. Farrar probably needs to weigh in on this and on the legalities of full-time.
So what makes it full-time?
Whatever you say via ordinance makes it full or part-time. Right now, you don't have anything in written ordinance that makes it anything. We found in various spots where the position is referenced as part-time, but we're again sort of speaking about nebulous concepts here of part-time versus full-time. It just is whatever we say it is.
So then what's the benefit to you, Mrs. Piazza, of that full-time designation?
Well, we've proven by having someone in the seat, we can function the city much better. I mean, versus someone having their own business and that's their priority and then they come be the mayor. We need to put that in future so that we are better set up to run as a 10,000 plus city. I mean,
I think when we spoke about it, right, I think the idea was that it sort of adds some sort of, I don't know, not legitimacy, but it sort of shows like the city is ready for a full-time mayor whose their full attention is in that and not other things. I mean, that's sort of it's just a policy perspective from the city to say what you want in your mayor.
when you go out
That
and
makes
look and
sense.
Google the different mayors, ours shows part-time, the other cities show full-time and shows the pay. And so just putting that I'm trying to set us up for the future.
I understand your intent, and I think most people, if you, even a layperson can understand full-time versus part-time. They, so it's, it sets out our expectations, like Mr. Farrar said. I think that's pretty clear. Um, you know, I think that's good to do. I don't see the harm in it at all. Another thing to think about, and I didn't know this until looking at it, if I may be off base, but council cannot remove a mayor for malfeasance, right? That has to be done by recall vote only?
Full of fun questions tonight. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I think
Recall
I
vote.
did some research
I
on
think
that,
you're right.
and I don't
It sounds
think-
right.
Yeah, I think it basically has to be a recall vote. So, I stand by what I said earlier. I stick with I can support this with the changes in a couple of letters and the salary being a little bit less than.
Yeah, I totally
Then
support what you added. I
100K.
think it all makes sense. And like I said, I was just trying to find a middle ground to land on for us to discuss.
I think I got two questions for you, Ms.
Mhm.
Ms. Piazza. The 72,000 that the salary should have been, why wasn't it?
I don't know. I just know that when I went back and was looking at it, it should have been a cost of living raise each year, what Paul put into place,
Mhm.
and we haven't been doing that each year.
That's interesting to know, because I mean, we also had something this year where we had some people and some personnel in the fire department that were supposed to get adjustments, and then we just had a giant spike
Giant
in that.
jump.
So I don't like that not being implemented and enforced, and I don't know who's to be in charge of making sure
Right.
that's accurately happening. That's perhaps maybe why we need some kind of internal guidance with like a CPA firm that would help us, make sure that our payroll is accurately being implemented and in those
Right.
roles, because that, that kind of hiccuped me when we were saying it's currently 60, and it should have been with all the cost of living adjustments to 72. So that's perplexing to me that, we're off by $12,000.
And that was something Paul put in place when he
That's
gave
crazy.
the raise, when the raise went into effect with Paul back in, I don't remember the year, I don't have it with me.
Okay.
I believe that was
Thank-
21.
Thank you for shedding light on that for me. My second question is, so I'm trying to wrap my head around hearing the discussion tonight with the full-time position. So hypothetically, very hypothetically, I own a business. I'm a resident of Tontitown. If I threw my name in the hat, you're looking for a person like myself to only work for the city of Tontitown.
Not necessarily,
point.
but just know that this would be a full-time position where that you'd
Mhm.
need to know you're putting that time in. And we're fully expressing what the needs of the city are.
Okay. But
the
it's
future.
strictly not prohibiting.
No, we're not saying you can't
Such a
have another
person.
job. We've seen what both looks like
Mhm.
with previous mayors and
Yeah.
now. And we see the need and the
Mm.
good of having someone here in office instead of a locked door with no one to go to.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a lot of noise. How did I do? Now that I've got your attention, I have nothing to say. That's a fair point.
You have nothing to say?
Well, no, I just wanted to make some noise. I mean, yes, I have some things to say. I think somebody who runs a business may be the kind of candidate that we need. So I appreciate you answering that last part. Again, I don't know. I'm really torn on this. And again, you and I have talked about it, but I'm just torn. I'm so sorry. I wish I could ask you questions that would help me to
I did-
better land somewhere.
I just think we're to the point where we need to say we're not a part-time city anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, if we could just say like, hey, we're not a part-time city anymore. This takes a lot of time, those sorts of things versus stamp, it's a full-time city. I think there are some other things that come along with that, including benefits, which by the way, isn't necessarily a bad thing. But there are benefits that come along with that could be good, that could cost the city more money. I just don't know. I'm not there yet.
I
Yes, sir.
completely understand.
Thank
Well,
you.
there's a picture back there on the wall, and I'm not even gonna point out which one it is, and it's a long time ago. But he was a part-time mayor, and he kind of had a dice thing. Go in, check my mail, go drink coffee, whatever. And things have changed.
They have indeed.
Things have changed. So
Undoubtedly.
go in, check my mail, be here every day that you're not called away to Little Rock or meetings with Boston Mountain Waste.
Yeah,
or
I agree.
what-
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
you may,
I think it's really important. I couldn't agree more. I just don't know how I feel about, I don't know, putting that stamp.
Just having an accessible mayor, because we've had a
Sure.
non-accessible, we've had,
We certainly have.
so just trying to, I'm really just trying to.
I've
set
worked
us up
with a
for
few of
future.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of torn on I can see your urgency to get this passed so that people that are picking up their applications understand what.
Yeah.
When are those packets available, Misty?
They should be sometime in the next couple weeks, because it's
Okay.
May that they come out. And then you turn them in for the first week in August.
Yeah.
Mr. Burris, if I
Yeah.
can ask you a question.
Yeah.
You seem apprehensive to passing this due to the timing conflict. When would you, if you had your way, when would you
October.
like to see something like
Well,
that?
October.
Those people are already going to be on the ballot.
No, I understand that, and I mean, it will be time to vote, right? I understand that. I think if somebody, again, I think there might be better ways to communicate it. It would be unfortunate for somebody to run, to win, and then go, oh, no. It's a full-time job. I didn't know that. I mean, if there are ways that we can communicate that, that's wonderful. Paul was here a lot. He was gone a lot for various reasons too. But I mean, there are times when I come up here and I just don't see people, right? There are people I expect to see that I don't see. And I don't like that. I mean, I like the idea of a time clock for that very reason. So I'm struggling with it, but there are a couple things I'm struggling with. I am struggling a little bit with, do we literally need to call it full-time right now, even though it is full-time, when we might have somebody who's got a lot of bandwidth, who's really, really good? I mean, like you, I'll use you as an example. You've got a lot of bandwidth. If you were doing your job and doing this job, I think you could do it. But if we say it's full-time, somebody like you is going to say, well, then I'm out. I couldn't even consider it. And I think you would be a better candidate than somebody who's been unemployed for the last 2 years who says, oh, look at that, that's a job. If I can get enough people to vote for me that I go to church with, I could win this thing, right? So I do have a potential problem with that. And then from a budgetary standpoint, I don't love the idea of creating a budget for the people that are coming after us, that they have to deal with it and they can't do anything about it. I would rather that we get it sort of set up for them so that after that election, we can then say, and what do you think about this regarding the budget? Maybe even I'd rather it be in November. Again, I understand it's all a little wonky, but I don't know that there are great answers to it right now, at least in my head and in my heart over it.
Tyler, remind me, because we did talk about this. I offered to do the ordinance first and then put the pay in later, and then we talked about it. Can you refresh my memory on what all we talked about with that? Because I know I did propose both when we were putting them together.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Misty. I don't really remember other than that we talked about putting the salary into the ordinance as a sort of recruitment tool, right? I mean, sort of to legitimize the position to show that you want people who are going to take this serious to run for it. I know the other side of that's been discussed is that you don't want people saying, oh, look at that, I'm going to run for that and make that amount of money to do nothing. But again, if you're going to pass an ordinance that says this is full time, we want someone who's here all the time, I think you're going to have to attract them. So that was my recollection, Misty. We said, let's put it in there.
Well, and I think whoever hopefully has done their homework and they're a very brave soul, in my opinion. This city does not come without a lot of things to work through. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, and whoever it is, they should be really passionate about the role, right? I mean, they should
Right.
want to be here as much as possible.
Not
just
everybody
here-
wakes up and says, I want to be the mayor.
Mike,
Yeah.
say we put this off to October, November, December, it's still going in the 27 budget.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if we do it. I mean, I just don't, I get it. You're kind of binding another council to, but that happens all the time. You know, and this, I think it's important to let people know that we expect full-time performance out of our mayor as well. And most people who are going to run for it are going to do that. So, you know, I'm done talking about it.
I think that there are other ways to sort of say, hey, listen, this is a full-time job, we need to understand that it's a full-time job, et cetera. And to your point, this doesn't happen all the time. We don't often have councils that come in and are bound to whatever happened before them. It is very rare that there is such a change in the council as we've had. I mean, there was a change with you three coming on. That was big. But before that, you know, it's not common that people run against incumbents.
And I was bound by all the
Mayor, you've got something?
passed before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just speaking
I get it.
for myself, I think that it is very important to let people know that they are expected to be here full-time. And if they think it's going to be part-time, not even to run. I think that we should get that done
Yeah.
prior to them pulling packets.
Well, you may be
And
right on
about
that.
the-
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. And about the pay, I think that's important also. They need to know what to expect. I'm maybe kind of unique because I was here over a week before I even knew what the mayor made because I did not run on for that reason.
I remember that discussion.
So some people, you know, if it's a male, they may be head of household. They may need to know how much they're going to make. And I think that it's important that they're able to say, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, I get that. One other concern that I had, and I don't know how big a deal this is, but I do know that like if the council creates a position or increases a salary or something like, I mean, if I'm going to pick on Mr. Montez, who may or may not be interested in running for mayor, but if Mr. Montez is interested in running for mayor, can he vote to raise the mayor's salary and then become the mayor in just a few months? Is that okay? That's a question for Mr. Farrar.
Yeah, I don't have that answer off the top of my head, but so long as he runs for the election, I believe so, right? I mean, I don't think he's precluded just because he voted on an ordinance that affected the future position, you know, in this hypothetical, of course. But I'll get clarification on
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Sure.
So I would rather table it. In fact, I will make a motion to table it until October. I hear the crickets.
I'll counter that motion with the motion of my own that with the changes in the language to H and I and the salary that we move forward.
So
To go to
what
city
salary
council.
are you talking about, Mike?
80,000.
80?
As long as it's Ms. Piazza's.
Yeah, I'll second
Ordinance.
that.
Okay, wait a minute. We got a motion for,
It
for,
died a
for
little
di-
bit.
It died for lack of a second.
okay, that was not relayed.
I'm sorry.
So Mike is now saying to push it forward with changes, with the changes that discussed. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Roll call.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Misty did.
I do have a question on item L. In there, it says appoint and remove all department heads and city employees not under the direct supervision of a department head. Do we currently have employees that would fit that characterization?
Say that again, Danny.
Section L.
If I'm not mistaken, that's copied verbatim out
Okay.
of.
I was about to
current
say,
code.
So it's kind of like a blank.
having written this, you should know that A through M come from your current ordinance. I changed some wording on some things that weren't cleanly written, but it's the same stuff.
But this ordinance supersedes that, and
It will if passed,
Right.
right? So that's why they're in there.
so that certain section, do you think that's just a blanket statement, just to kind of?
You know,
cover the
yeah, I have
bases?
no clue what the legislative history of that is. I don't know why a previous city council passed that, but that is what your current ordinances say.
Can we work on that now?
Yeah, didn't you just decide you're gonna table it for the future conversation? So,
Second on as is.
Yeah, the tabling died.
okay.
There's a first and a second to
That's fine.
pass it as is off to the city council meeting.
That's fine. Thank you.
Roll call.
Daniel,
It's not as is.
this is to move to the city council with the 3 changes, HI and the pay to 80,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
HI and the pay. No.
Misty,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Larry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
that passes.
It passes.
Only need 3.
Okay. Next, we have a discussion of a proposed ordinance separating the offices of city clerk and clerk treasurer. Misty.
Okay, so the next 3 all go to, is it 3 or 4? The next ones go together. I'd worked with Mark and the attorney on this and looking at the law. And I just feel these positions have gotten bigger as we've grown, and I'm looking to make it more for the future of the city. For example, I was under the impression we were looking at hiring a CPA, so the appointment of the CPA would be treasurer to cover us. There's been a lot of stuff with finances the last 2 years, and we're constantly under scrutiny. So just moving that to someone that's their degree, that's what they do every day, just covering the city, an extra layer of protection for the city, and then moving the clerk position to more of what it's always been as a more part-time. I feel like it's moved into a lot of heavy lifting the last couple of years, and would like to see the city employees get to go back to their regular jobs and move this back to just more of the clerk, and then getting help as needed. And so all of these, it needed these 3 to break it out properly, but that's the gist. All of your exhibits, paperwork shows the legalities and what the law says. I talked to several cities when I was in the Municipal League Conference in January, and several of the smaller cities have went to this as well as larger cities. And it's more, this is also when I was just looking to help the workflow, help the stress level, help all of our employees have a fully capable positions, if that makes sense. Open to any questions.
Mr. Chair, ma'am.
Please.
One way to circumvent some of the issues that you're describing there, and it was brought up in the discussion with Landmark, is to hire an outside CPA firm to perform the functionality and role of treasurer. And I think that would maybe eliminate the need. And once you get your questions answered, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to this,
Right.
a whole lot to this. And literally, we could be here another 2 hours discussing this. Not something that I really want to do. So, you know, there's a whole lot that's brought up by this. I don't necessarily object to separating the 2 functions, because you're right. The role of clerk treasurer is pretty ominous right now. But one thing that's not brought out, I think, by what you've proposed are, you know, what basic legal qualifications we're going to have of the treasurer position, qualifications. There's something called oath and bonding requirements, core competencies, experience, background, salary. There's a lot of things I think that need to be addressed that aren't by this. And I'm not casting aspersions at you at all. Again, I know that you've done a lot of work on this, but this I think is going to require a pretty lengthy discussion again, I think a lot of the problems that were brought out by your opening statement could be put to rest by getting that CPA firm to do because obviously they have the qualifications. It's a CPA firm.
Right.
To do the functions of the treasurer position. So, I mean, I'm open to discussing it as much
Right.
as you want, but I don't certainly don't want to pass this to council for a vote as is.
Oh,
So,
completely understand. And
um,
also, just to kind of add on that, one of the reasons the treasurer would be appointed is because we'd be appointing someone with those.
right, and maybe maybe the qualifications don't have to be lined out in the ordinance. But I didn't see that they were addressed
No, they probably
anywhere.
aren't fully. No, I agree.
So,
There can be work on this.
I think we need to hammer those out before we discuss splitting the positions, quite frankly.
Okay.
So, I mean, I always like the author to, I'll entertain other questions before I motion to table, but that's where I lean on this one, and for those reasons.
Is that
And
something
I
that you
can-
could write up and send to Tyler to help us make this better?
Absolutely.
Just like I
Yeah,
said,
I've got
I'm not an expert on this.
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
not
going by
either.
law and trying to get us where we need to go. We've just been under such scrutiny,
I
and I'm
agree.
trying to help the future.
I agree, again, I'm not opposed to splitting them, and I think the duties of the clerk, the other thing was the accountability issue. To whom is the treasurer going to be accountable? I mean, I get it. The city council approves the appointment. But do they answer only to the city council? Are they going to still have to answer to the clerk? But I didn't see that. Maybe I'm just didn't look in the right spot. I think they might still be answerable to the clerk but if the clerk's not performing the function of producing the financial reports,
I don't think I think
So,
there's a different, but we can get municipal league to help us with that.
so I think I'd like to hear what other people have to say before just tabling this outright. But I'd certainly lean towards tabling this to do deeper dive into it.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. And on section 7, part 2, city treasurer, I don't see there that it says the appointment happens or that they are appointed by the city council.
That is probably the other ordinance. That's M, the proposed ordinance M. Because like I said, K, L, and M are all together to split them all out, so.
I'm looking at the ordinance. Perhaps I'm missing something, though.
The number 2 on, let's see, ordinance
The city
establishing,
clerk shall be elected, the city clerk shall perform duties, city treasurer shall be an appointed position.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
The appointment would be made by the mayor, I presume, and the council would approve the appointment. Is that
Right,
not
like what
how
we
it
do
would
Actually,
be done?
section 3
Appointment,
says,
yeah.
sorry, the position of city treasurer shall be appointed and confirmed by city council. There it is.
Appointed
It's in
and confirmed by
section 3.
council, okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it all is
Sorry,
appointed
missed
by
that.
council. I tried to follow that same.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that.
And this is a lot, so I'm all for tabling if that's where we want to go, because there's more work that can be done. I just tried to get us started.
And I appreciate that. Maybe we should make a list of things
Yeah.
that we all want to do, and we don't have to do it. If we want to have a further discussion on this, I'm all for it. I mean, I signed up to be here, and I'm here, so if,
Just
We
trying to
know it's
follow
a bad
protocol of
sleep.
no
Right.
side conversations and no little meetings. I'm just trying to follow.
absolutely, I appreciate it.
I'm open to be, I guess, learn about what, I'm kind of looking at it and trying to see what everybody else's position is. I kind of, allowed, but I kind of clerk treasurer's opinion on this and see if they. But I don't.
Rhonda, I think you're being asked a question.
Well, all day, I'm gonna get to talk. Well, as far as separating them, as a clerk, a part-time clerk, I have no objections to that, to this particular separation. I don't. If I was full-time, had an office here, was able to be here, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right.
But being responsible and the responsibility that the clerk has, the clerk treasurer has at this time is a lot on plate. So I do not object to this.
Well, and the other one I.
There are
proposed-
things that can be changed to, in my opinion, if this is going to be separated, then you're going to take everything away from the clerk. So the clerk has no responsibility and can't come back on the clerk.
Keeping it a part-time.
Especially
yeah.
when you've got another one in here where the clerk is still part-time. You cannot have the part-time clerk take any responsibility for something that she or he has no control of.
Absolutely agree.
So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and the other way I proposed it to, when I was talking with Mark and Tyler, was making it a full-time position and keeping it together because the load has gotten so big. So that is also something for y'all to
But you're
think
also
about.
talking about maybe possibly doing a
Keeping
CPA,
clerk-
so
Well,
there you
that's
go.
why I thought, because of the CPA, that's why I thought, look, and Mark and I were talking like split it.
Yeah.
But if we keep them together, maybe it's time to go to a full-time position so that you can be compensated for your time and effort.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been giving a lot more time and effort than you're being paid for.
The position,
The
the
position,
position.
yeah, the position. It has
Because it's
been,
not gonna be just me, it would be anybody
yeah,
else. that
whoever
visits.
runs, but I mean, I see the work and the efforts that you're putting in, and I wish you were being compensated more for it.
Thank you.
And I think that could work really well in an appointment scenario, but if it's an election scenario, we don't know what we get.
Right, that's,
Elected.
clerk is elected, the treasurer's
treasurer.
appointed
Clerk
with what I'm
treasurer is still
recommending
elected at this point.
at this point.
So,
I'm just trying to, just trying to, I see your efforts, and I greatly appreciate all that you do.
From my understanding, clerk has to be an elected
Yes,
position.
yes,
per
it's
law.
law.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
law, right.
Yes,
Treasurer does not.
yes, it is part of the clerk/treasurer.
Right, but
Until
I'm
this
saying
is
if they're separated,
Until
be by
this is
appointment.
separated, it is still as is.
right, but what I'm saying is if it's separated,
Yeah, that's what I just said. Once you separate it, then you
It's
can do it
not
as you
correct.
want.
Right.
And, if you do have the CPA firm, I guess you'd still technically have to have a treasurer.
I was gonna ask about that. How can you put a CPA as
So-
a treasurer?
They couldn't
title.
be, I don't think.
So
So.
who would actually be over the CPA?
Well, if you leave it as clerk treasurer,
Yeah.
that's still gonna be,
Yeah.
but you're gonna have a professional CPA firm that's doing the reporting to you.
Correct, but when it
So,
boils down to your clerk
you're
would still be
still-
responsible.
So that's why, if you put somebody in the treasurer position, I think there's a lot of qualifications that would need to be
Can I-
addressed.
Can I
for that
ask, if you're gonna
purpose.
put a title of a treasurer, would that not be, and then you hired a CPA, could the treasurer be the accountant?
It could possibly, we can look at the
I-
legalities of
Well,
that.
I don't
I don't know.
if you can do that.
The here's one person I do know who's not treasurer, but is finance director at Rogers. And she's a CPA who still reports to the clerk treasurer,
Okay.
and also has outside help, even as a CPA. Now, granted, I'm sure Rogers' budget's probably 10 times larger than
And as we
ours.
learn, they change it monthly.
So-
Remember, we learned that at
Right.
municipal.
So, it depends on, you can structure it probably a few different ways.
Do you,
Uh,
I mean, do you have to have a title treasurer?
Yeah, well, it
I
says we
mean,
just have to
can you
appoint
not,
one.
just not,
Cause she's finance director,
yeah,
not treasurer. So
yeah,
We just
so
need
why,
I
to-
think someone who functions in that role
Right.
I think they have to have the responsibilities as laid out by state law. State law lays out what a treasurer's roles and responsibilities are. And I think someone has to function in that role regardless of whether you have an outside firm handling your books and bookkeeping and, but
Yeah.
whatever. So
there's a lot of questions
there's a
here.
lot to
Yeah.
this. This one's way more complicated than the other one.
Absolutely. I completely
So-
agree.
Yeah. Under Arkansas municipal law, every municipality must have a treasurer.
It just
They have to
doesn't
have
have to be an
title of treasurer.
elected. It can be
Whether-
appointed.
Right.
Whether they're, whether treasurer, financial director, whatever they're called, I
Whatever
guess
you wanna
it's the
call them.
same.
As
They-
long as
they-
they're following
they
the
function
guidelines
in
of
the role
what's
as a
the function
treasurer,
of the
right.
role.
So
Is there any other discussion before I make a motion to table this?
We've already got a motion, I need a second.
I didn't actually
Motion
officially
table. Oh, I
make a
thought you-
motion. I said I wanted to hear
Oh.
discussion.
Sorry.
Motion, so,
Any other discussion?
sorry.
Is everybody open to sending Tyler your things you'd like? And then we can, or even do I'm even open to a workshop on this. I feel like this is a big
yeah.
step.
Yeah, before we step in that direction, let me read something, if you don't mind. This is regarding the title that talks about this in municipal law. It says the qualified voters of cities of the first class, population less than 50,000, having a mayor or council form of government, shall elect the first Tuesday following the first Monday in November, every 4 years, one city clerk, and unless appointed pursuant to 14-43-405, one city treasurer or one city clerk treasurer. So they seem to be specific about the verbiage even.
Yeah, it's, so this is recommending to split them and make an appointed
Right.
treasurer and elected city clerk,
Yep.
or keep it as is, an elected
Yeah,
treasurer.
okay,
So-
got it. Okay, thank you.
So, uh,
So what's the motion? Is the
A
table?
motion to
I
table.
mean, would y'all like to workshop this?
Yes,
That make
I
everybody
think
feel
that'd
better?
be-
I mean, I'm open. I mean, I just feel like this is something I felt very passionate about bringing forward.
I think rather than communicate through Tyler.
Yeah, I
think
don't
it
want to
might be-
bombard Tyler. That's not my goal at all, Tyler.
That's my
It might be beneficial to
Appreciate
do
that.
host a workshop.
Okay.
If everybody can make an effort.
I put Tyler on speed dial today.
Yeah, I
So-
don't have anything else to do all
I
day.
make a motion to table this until the June cow with a workshop to happen in May.
Do I have a second?
That will be to be scheduled,
I heard it.
Yes, to be scheduled.
Well,
okay, in the
Mike just
second,
said, oh, I
the
guess
May
you-
workshop time may be tough, but
Okay, well, then do
I'll
we-
make it work. Don't worry.
Oh.
I'll
I
get it
mean,
to
do
work.
you feel like we need July? I mean, we just need,
Um,
people just need to know what they're running for because it isn't open. But
Yeah, we'll
but
definitely
July
get
still gives us
something-
time before August, before it goes on the ballot. so-
Sure, we'll get something done.
how about we
before
just have a
then.
workshop to be scheduled?
Okay.
Will that work?
That's fine. If you come up with a date in May,
Okay.
Ms. Piazza, and
Okay.
I'll do my best to make it work.
Thursday's best for everybody? Or
No,
Tuesdays?
Tuesdays are probably better.
Okay,
Yeah, Tuesday would be nice.
You seconded, or was there a second?
There has not been a second, to
I'll
my
second.
knowledge.
Mike did.
Okay, roll call.
Missy,
yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
May 19th? Oh, wait, sorry, that's our next meeting.
That's the next meeting. I started to say, how are we gonna do
So
that?
the only other Tuesday would be next Tuesday. The other one is planning. Right, the 26th is planning?
So, are we going to, table the next two
Yeah,
also?
yes. Do we need to formally table each one of these, Rhonda, or can they all be tabled under the same?
I mean,
No,
it might,
I mean, if you want to make it a formal vote, then yeah, you can do that.
I mean, I don't know if you want to have a discussion here while you've got the council here.
Well, these
I
are
don't
all,
know, but yeah.
these are all the same. They all tie together, so.
I'm just kind of throwing
I'll make
that
a
out.
motion to table L and M.
Second.
Roll call.
Hang on.
Thank you, John.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you,
Clark,
guys.
I would love for you to come up and discuss a mini excavator option for the water department.
Good evening, or good night. So we have a 2015 mini excavator that is in the shop right now needing service. And it needs about a little over $8,000 worth of service done on it. While it was in there, checked on the possible purchase of a new one since it's in the budget, or I'm going to put it in the budget for next year. Excuse me. They have made us a fairly good offer, but I have two options. One, we could do the trade, and what you have in your packet shows the selling price of the Mini X, and this is the same size as the one we have. We had talked about getting a larger excavator, but we have a lot of accessories for this excavator that we have. So if we go up in size, we have to replace all the extra buckets and the cutters and everything else we got for it. So we're going to stick with the same size.
And they'll still give us that trade-in without giving them all the goodies?
Yes, yeah, this doesn't include any of the accessories.
Okay.
So, yes, he offered us $30,000 trade-in, which would leave us financing or purchasing for about $45,500. Since it's not in the budget this year, one option would be to lease it through the end of the year, budget for the payoff next year. The other option is just to, since we have money in reserve, just go ahead and pay for it outright. And that's up to you, however you think we should proceed with that, because it was not budgeted this year.
A couple things. So if we do move forward, and I'll ask you some questions about that in a second. We've talked, but let's have a public discussion too.
Sure.
If we buy it and we finance it at 6.99%, as you've pointed out at the bottom of this, or as Rick's Cat did, that cost goes up 30 grand, right? To $75,000. Is that what that amount there is?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
So it says the after-tax balance is 45,000. Are we not getting a trade-in? Right, but the amount at the bottom of the payment term still says 75,555. Is that because of that interest that we're paying? Are we paying another 30 grand in interest? It looks, it can't be exact. Or did they not account for the trade-in on the financing? And if so, why is that not accounted for there?
Yes, they did. It says just above it, balance to finance is 45,905.
Right, but then it says.
The amount over.
The amount is
right.
$75,555.24. Bottom right.
But that's with the trade allowance of 30,000.
Right, so it says trade allowance of 30,000, but then it still says amount is 75,555, not 45,555.
Well, but that balance to finance is 45,000.
Good.
Right?
Why is the balance to finance 45,905 versus the 555? Am I missing a service fee or something?
Yeah, there are some service fees.
That's my guess.
My question, James, and it may just be a mistake on the form, but in that bottom right, the
Very
total
bottom
amount, very bottom right, right above the warranty line on the far right.
Correct.
It says amount, $75,555.24, not 45,905.24 or whatever it should say.
Well,
My guess would be
I
that'd be a
think-
typo.
I think the trade allowance is shown just above it.
It is.
And that's
but-
why
but-
the
but-
balance to finance is 45,905.
Right, but the trade allowance, again, that final right area,
Mhm.
this is the final price, folks, right? So we've got the $30,000 trade allowance right above it, and then we come over to the left and we read across from left to right, and then that is the last thing. The last thing they tell us is here's the amount. It's $75,555. Again, I suspect it's just a typo, but we need to get that rectified.
Yeah, I just don't think that that's
I don't, yeah.
a normal reading of it. I think in this case, it's showing the total amount, the trade allowance up above it, and then the finance up to the left of it, which is, Chinese or however that's
Well,
written.
just doing, I too can figure out the interest too, Tim, and I think the total interest payments on this would be about 16 grand.
Yep.
So I think I understand what you're saying. The amount on the right,
Very confusing.
underpayment terms should probably equal closer to 61,000.
So it's 3,208 in interest and 76 cents per year over 5 years. So Mike, $16,043.80.
So,
all right, so that's fine. But the first thing I asked you, I think, when we met last week was, is it in the budget? You said no, but you shared something else with me, that there's money in a water reserve fund, and it's for just such an occasion as this. It's a bit of an emergency fund.
That is correct.
And we can save it up and pay for things like water towers or stuff maybe, right, if we need it?
Exactly.
Which is nice. How much is in that fund right now?
It's a little over 2 million.
It's a lot over 2 million. It's 2.4 million.
2.4.
$2,430,264.16. So I think, although I'd really wish that it was on the budget, financing it is just a waste of 16 grand.
Amen.
And if we're going to move forward, instead of paying them $8,000 to fix an old machine, I'd like this machine to last as long as possible. I'd rather us buy a new machine with that. I mean, it's literally 1.875% of that total amount that we have in reserve, right? So,
Rounding error.
yeah, exactly right. So I'm absolutely amenable to buying this, and I don't want to shortchange anybody's discussion, but that's where I've landed on this. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all for not, I mean, we have it in that reserve. And it's just a drop of what we have in there. So I'd rather save the interest and not pay it. That makes sense, Tim.
I would much rather pay for it also. And the other thing, as we have discussed, keep stuff as good as we possibly can out there, as opposed to going out and hoping that you're going to use something that doesn't break down, as opposed to. So
Yeah.
let's keep our stuff as good as we can get it.
I want to thank Councilman Burris for pointing out that error. I think, yeah, I mean, you might have something there where we might want to rectify this document down there, or at least just double check it with them before we sign anything. Me and James had a discussion, I think, last meeting about this. I think I kind of gave you my feelings that I feel like we ought to just pull it out of our reserves and pay for it in full with accepting the trade. So, there's no other discussion. I'd like to make the motion to move that to city council.
I second.
based on the price of 45,555.24.
Yes.
That is correct.
Roll call.
Larry,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Tim,
Absolutely, yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Moving to city.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Item O, we have a settlement for a lawsuit, and Mr. Farrar.
Well, thank you. So as you all know, when I inherited this position, I also inherited your litigation. There's been a FOIA case that's been going on for some time, well beyond my time in this role, but I am defending the city in that matter right now. We had a hearing on some motions this week, and that matter is moving to trial next Wednesday. Not necessarily surprised by that. This is a FOIA case. Judges seem to like to get all this out in the light, so trial going to next Wednesday is part of this. In the course of that, the plaintiff's attorney has made an offer to settle and resolve this case, and I've sent that to you all for consideration. So, as you know, I'm just your attorney. I bring the offer to you, and you have to make a decision on that offer. We can accept that offer, we can reject that offer, we can make a counter offer, but something has to happen, or else you guys need to signal to me that this matter needs to move forward to a resolution on the merits next week.
And you need an answer on that tonight?
Well, I mean, I need an answer in some way or the other, right? Because if we're not going to resolve this matter outside of court, then preparations need to be made with witnesses, things need to start moving forward, and that has to happen within the next 5 business days.
Okay.
So I'm going to need to move some things around to get prepared for a trial, which is fine. But this, you guys are the decision makers, and I put this to you for a decision.
I had an opportunity to ask some questions this morning, and based on that, you spent a lot of time with me. I very much appreciate that. When his bill's higher this month, it's my fault. And I think, even though I don't love it, based on our conversation, it's a lot of money to settle, but if we go to trial and lose, which could happen, and you never know what's going to happen when you go to a trial, this could go up based on our discussion by another, 70 to 80% from where it is now?
Yeah, so not knowing the number specifically, I do want to address that, right? Any trial on any case is a gamble. You don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. I'm happy to put forward a very good defense, and I think the city has a very good defense. But at the end of the day, you don't know what will happen at a trial. 70 to 80%, I don't know, Tim. The figure as it stands, you're going to have to pay potentially, if that matter is resolved and the plaintiff substantially prevails, then he can't ask for attorney's fees. We know his current balance of attorney's fees, and that will grow. And you're also going to have to pay me over the next week to prepare for this, and you're going to have to pay me to go try a case. So I don't know the exact figure, but sure, it's going to go up substantially from there.
Okay. Am I allowed to talk about figures?
We're just estimating, sure.
Okay. So based on our discussion earlier, the estimate that we had where we are right now is somewhere around 34,000. If that went up to 45 or 50,000, that's an increase of somewhere between 45 and maybe 50% from where we are currently. And again, it's a lot of money, but you know, we've bought too many X's tonight. I mean, it's like Christmas. Anybody else want some money? Now's a good time to speak. So I would far rather that we take the bird in the hand than go see what happens. I think you were probably surprised yesterday in the way that that hearing went. And again, just to be able to have that done. I know that there were some other things on there that are non-monetary, based on the things that I've been told about who's running again and who isn't. I don't see that there's any issue with those things. I think that's a non-issue. And as far as the admission of guilt, it seems like there were 2 FOIAs that are at question. And I think admitting guilt on 2 FOIAs doesn't open up a floodgate of trouble. So based on those things, and again, based on our very in-depth conversation, again, thank you, Mr. Farrar. I think it might be best, instead of jumping forward at all the preparation that you have to prepare and witnesses have to prepare, and the other side will be preparing and we're paying more. Again, don't love the idea, but it might be best to just put this thing to rest.
Yeah, and we should mention too, it's not just money, right? There's some other things that they've asked for us to agree to. And I think some of this needs to be fleshed out a little bit further. Okay. The city admits to 2 violations stemming from 2 specific requests. I mean, you can admit to certain things, but you know, we're not gonna, I don't know, we're gonna put stipulations on that. We're not gonna allow those violations to be used to pursue criminal acts against people and stuff like that, right? I mean, this is not just going to be something that we're going to agree to and people can run with. So, I mean, I think some of this needs to be fleshed out, but the offer has been communicated in terms I think we can discuss now.
So, I speak? Okay. I don't have a problem with 1 and 3. I will not sign anything that says I will not run again.
Why not?
Because it's my right.
No, I understand, but is that again, I wish we could have this discussion privately. Is that a pride issue, or is that, no, I want to run again?
No, I don't feel like that should be, that freedom should be taken away from me, and I'm not going to do it.
So, I mean, that statement may put us at an impasse, right? Unless the other side is willing to agree to 1 and 3 and not 2. I mean, I have questions about the enforceability of number 2, but that's beyond the point.
Which one's number 2?
That the mayor agrees to consent decree to never run for office again, right?
Well, then all the more reason, if it can't be enforceable, then why not throw that particular bone out there, especially if you don't want to run again?
I think only the mayor can answer that.
I was asking the mayor.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it isn't enforceable, then it's all the more reason why not just be okay with that and sign off on it. If your right can't be impinged and it can't be enforced, then why not just sign it?
Well, I understand that it's not enforceable, so why should it even be there?
Is that something Judge Martin can rule on?
No, it's a settlement.
Well, I mean, the judge isn't really going to want to get involved in the specifics of the settlement, like 5 business days before the trial, right? We've had this time. I've tried to work this out for months. So I don't think that's a great idea. I mean, we can counter, but I don't know.
And although I can appreciate that you want to maintain your rights, and I want you to have your rights, but if it's a right that you don't ever intend on utilizing, based on conversations that I think you and I have had, then, and it saves us a fortune potentially and causes, a lot of this to just go away. Why not do it? I'm not trying to compel you to do anything. I'm curious.
I think I answered already.
Right.
I don't want my rights taken away,
Oh,
period.
okay.
And I understand that, it's unenforceable, but also, if the council attempts to take that right away from me, the condition and funding, salary, benefits, whatever, about signing such a document, it can be political coercion.
I have no idea where you pulled that one out of. I think that's a stretch.
AI,
With all due respect, again, think it's a stretch. AI, as we now know, isn't always correct. I don't think it's political coercion. I don't think we can compel you to do anything. But if you want to run, by all means run. If you don't want to run and you don't think it's enforceable anyway, I think it's one of those things that becomes a pride issue, and it's okay if it's a pride issue.
not really a pride issue. I just don't want my freedom taken away.
But if it's
Excuse me?
unenforceable, there is no freedom taken away.
Sorry.
I don't think you're the one being called out.
I have a question. So is this for this document saying any town, any council, any mayor position, or is this just Tontitown mayor?
At number 2, Mayor Russell's promise to not seek office again becomes binding on her, and she enters into a consent decree whereby she promises never to run for any elected office under the city of Tontitown again.
Only in Tontitown.
Yeah.
Do that.
So with that in mind, I mean, again, you can give me authority to counter or whatever, right? I mean, if the mayor's not going to agree to that, then, it complicates this discussion for now. I can go back to the plaintiff's attorney and say, they've given me authority to settle for number 1 and 3, but the mayor doesn't agree to number 2, and maybe they agree to that. But again, this is just part of the conversation we have to have, and you have 5 business days to decide, or we have a trial.
But we don't have 5 business days to decide because you have to prepare for that trial.
Well, correct, but before the trial occurs, we have 5 days, and if you don't decide anything tonight, I'm going to start preparing. I mean, I've already started preparing, so.
Well, I mean, if the mayor doesn't want to take that, and again, I think if council voted for it and we voted for it in a majority, and she doesn't sign it, then I don't know what we do about that. But if we want to go to trial, if you want to go to trial, I'm talking both to the mayor and to you, council, then sure. If you think that that's the right way to go, that is not at all what I came away with after our discussion.
Well, I'm your attorney. I'm going to do what you want me to do.
I
And
know-
if you want me
I
to
understand.
try the case, I'll try the case. The reality here is there are financial aspects to this that, that we need to be cognizant of and talk about. But again, we can counter. If you want to offer the number 1 and 3, then
In light of what we've heard from the mayor, and counter with 1 and 3, and if it's not acceptable, then we make a decision to come back and probably in special meeting.
it'll be a special meeting. Yeah.
To vote otherwise.
Yeah.
So.
I can go back to this attorney and I can say, here, this is what they've discussed and they're willing to do, and we can have that discussion.
I have no appetite for taking this thing to trial at all. I understand the mayor's position on number 2, but we don't know whether the consent decree is going to be permanently binding or not without a ruling from Judge Martin. So we'll counter with 1 and 3, and if we have to come back on a special, we'll come back in a special.
That's fine. I thought 2 would be the easy one. I'm wrong.
Could I get some words in there? I
Yeah,
got
go
a
ahead.
question for Mr. Farrar. So you got 3 things to it. You got the money, reimbursement for lawyer fees. You got the part where the mayor renounces her candidacy. And then you've got number 3, which is accepting liability for the FOIA violations. That comes upon the city as a whole, not just on the mayor or whoever violated it's the whole entire city. I have a little bit of a palatable hesitation to that because I don't feel like the entire city did the violation. So I don't really like that.
Well, don't forget, legally speaking, the city's one entity.
Yeah.
It's not the mayor, it's not you as individual city council, it's the entity of the city.
Yeah.
So this case has been pled as the city and the mayor. That's redundant. One entity has been sued.
Yeah.
It'd be no different than your police chief breaks the law, just hypothetically. I know he wouldn't, but the city's getting sued, not necessarily just that individual, right? So this is the way it works.
So my next question becomes, are we looking to make a motion to pass this? We've heard from the mayor that she does not consent to number 2, as we've been calling it. What are our places here? I've heard Mike Oshkoyak has offered to make a settlement or a counter to the settlement, and take out number 2. Does that get voted on, or do we just?
Yeah, so, yeah, procedurally, I think if you want to make a decision tonight, you need to make a motion, second it, and then vote on giving me authority to come back and offer a certain position as a counter.
So let's hypothetically say that Mike makes a motion, gets a second, and that goes to a vote. Does that go to the city council, or should we have a special tonight
Well,
to?
don't forget, you're only authorizing me to counter, so
Right.
that still has to be accepted. And if that's accepted, we'll have to iron that out in the settlement agreement, which you guys will have to vote on and
And
the mayor will sign.
the other side of that is we pass 1, 2, 3, the mayor refuses to sign, back in the same boat, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't vote to accept this offer as written on its terms without some form of affirmation from the mayor she would sign it. You don't want to pass something that you know was not going to get signed.
Then it seems most prudent to make the counter, see where that gets us, come back to the drawing. I don't see we have any choice. I mean, unless we all voted to take it to trial, which I will not do that.
I still don't love the idea of going to trial, but if, I understand, I don't want to compel the mayor to do anything. It's her right to decide what her legacy is. I wish that she would do it. I think it could save us some money. But I'm not necessarily opposed to going to trial if she doesn't want to sign that. Larry, Misty, what do you guys think about going to trial? Is that what you'd like to do, or would you rather
No.
do a counter?
That's-
What are you thinking?
I just said.
Okay.
I was not in favor of trial, just not. I have never, ever attended a trial, and I don't want this to be the first one.
I don't think you have to go. If she doesn't have to sign, you don't have to
I
go. Okay, so with that said, if we came up with an amenable solution and the mayor says, I'm not going to sign that, then we can't go anywhere. So we're back to this point with Mike. Mayor, you don't have to answer this question, of course, but have you decided that you are or are not running in November?
At this point, no, I am not running. However, I am a female and I may change my mind.
Well, that happens. Ladies are allowed to.
So I
Mr.
think
Chairman.
we're waiting at somebody. Danny,
May I make a motion that we counter with item 1? I don't think we should do number 2, and I don't think we should do number 3.
Really? Okay. So you like item 1, you don't like 2, you don't like 3.
All right, I
Hey,
promise you
Did we
that
get a
count
first and a
won't be
second on Mike's yet?
I'm sorry?
Did we get a first and a second on Mike's?
they didn't get a second on Mike's.
So that one died?
I didn't make a motion.
Yeah, I
He
didn't
was
think you
just
made a
talking.
motion either,
Okay.
but I've formally made a motion, so I
There's a motion. Item 1,
Only for item 1.
only for item 1.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Okay, this is to counter only for item 1. Daniel,
yes.
Misty,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes, sure.
Larry,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
motion to counter for 1 passes.
Would you like to make another motion then?
Did that fail?
That passed.
No, it
so-
passed.
I know, but
So just to be clear on my end, I'm reaching out to this attorney and I'm saying the city council has authorized us to counter with paying attorney's fees and costs, but we will not agree to the other two.
That
And
was
if there's
the
a-
motion that passed. Yes,
Yep.
sir. Thank
Thank-
you.
Okay. Comments from our council members. Mr. Wiskozyak.
I don't have anything else to add. Just maybe it's time for a margarita on Cinco de Mayo.
I forgot it was Cinco de Mayo.
Thanks
Mr.
for coming
Burris.
out, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, we have a seat open on city council. And we already have 2 or 3 interested parties, I've been told, but I do wish that all those candidates would have showed up tonight so that we could meet them. I'd love to meet them. And we'd love for you guys to know what this is all about. So we really do need parties who are interested in getting involved in the city, and we do need you. This council is excellent, and I trust whatever this council decides, and we look, as we look forward to November, is good. But city council is often filled with conflict, which we all hate. I don't think any of us up here like it, but it is an excellent way to serve our city. And while I hate disagreeing, I hate pushing back. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be doing my job properly to protect taxpayer dollars, because I'm a fiduciary of the city, just like we all are. I always want to do my best job for the city, and this job involves long hours of discussion. We started tonight at 6, it's nearly 10. But I really appreciate that all my fellow council members have an opinion, that they know how to argue their opinion, and often they convince us that their way is right. So thank you for that. I would love to see a candidate as we go forward, the candidates that are going to throw their hat in the ring, that do have years of life experience, years of business experience, a passion for our town, and I dearly hope that you'll reach out if you're interested. In other news, before tonight, I was not aware of the plight of the protected blind cave fish and the Benton County crayfish. But we do need to make sure that no building projects and no current businesses do anything to harm our local flora and fauna. I would love it if a committee could look into that and see how it impacts, the impacts of local businesses are impacting that, and so that we can steward these protected species well. I don't want to volunteer anybody, but I'm going to volunteer a couple names. Mr. Calcagney, Ms. Nina Brown, I'd love for you guys to be, if you're interested, to delve into this and talk more about it. I think it's an area of deep concern, and hopefully you guys are as passionate about this as I am. For the rest of you, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. City Council's hard work. I'm talking to those of you up here and those of you out there, you've recognized it, I'm sure. It doesn't pay much of anything, but we do need the involvement of people with experience and interest. And I do hope you'll show up at our next meeting because we would love to meet those of you that are interested in serving the city. Thank you.
And my usual, I appreciate city employees, top to bottom, sideways, whichever way you want to discuss it. Appreciate them, and all of you that stayed through this. I appreciate you too. So have a good rest of your evening. Misty.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for staying the extra time. Thank you, council members, for discussing what I brought forward. And as always, we're just trying to set us up for the future and to be a strong council and help the city grow and do everything properly every day. We do have another opening in the city. Miss Julie Sallings at the museum has been offered a teaching position and will be leaving at the museum registrar position. We have it posted on the city page and the museum page, and we'll be filling her position. The applications are due by May 25th. She's agreed to stay on through the end of May to help us get through Heritage Days. And we're looking for someone with museum experience to help us. We have the position set up in a great place right now. And we've already got a couple people interested, but if you have the experience and you're interested, please fill out the application or reach out to myself or one of the other board members or even Emily over at the museum to let us know if you're interested. Again, thank y'all for coming out tonight.
Daniel.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Thanks for everybody for coming out here. Thank council for the long discussion. One quick point that I wanted to kind of echo onto, and I guess it's not really echoing onto it, but on talks of this clerk treasurer and separation and mayoral full-time position and stuff, it kind of got me thinking just now. Perhaps we might even entertain a discussion on getting engagement for these council seats and looking at the pay there. Something was mentioned here in Mr. Burse's comments about the pay here for council, so that might be something you everybody perks up to and kind of thinks about what to set the standard for on that. But other than that, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you on May 19th.
Mayor.
I received a letter from a gentleman. His name is Daniel Justice, and I just want to read this real quick. Mayor Russell, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you, the City Council, and the citizens of Tontitown for sponsoring me through the paramedic program over the last year. It was challenging academically, technically, and personally, and I am deeply appreciative of the opportunity. Chief Krug was a constant and reliable source of support and encouragement, especially during some of the more difficult moments. I had an amazing support network through my fellow firefighters, the paramedics at Central EMS, and other providers at neighboring organizations inside and outside of our region. The Tontitown Fire Department has embraced the challenge of serving a rapid and growing community, and I'm proud to be part of an organization striving to become a premier emergency service provider in our area. I look forward to paying the investment forward and contributing positively to our culture of service, supporting, encouraging, and educating my peers in the years ahead. Thank you again for your trust and support. Respectfully, Daniel Justice. I just want to say, council, thank you for allowing the firemen to have this opportunity to go in and do this program. I think it benefits Tontitown and will continue to benefit Tontitown and citizens. Even if they leave, it's going to continue to benefit people. So thank you. I appreciate it. And everybody have a good night.
Mr. Farrar.
No comments from me. Everybody have a good night.
Everybody in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.